Everything began on the day the world collapsed, after humanity's greatest heroes were defeated by the invaders. Amidst the ruins and tragedy, only the last two warriors remained, struggling to breathe. The holy swordsman Xenon Glorious was filled with despair, wondering if they were truly the last survivors. The mage Aerith sadly confirmed that all their other comrades had fallen. She lamented that even their strongest allies couldn't withstand the enemy's destructive power. Determined to keep fighting, Xenon told Aerith to just focus on supporting him. The swordsman drew his massive blade, clearly preparing to give it his all. Xenon aimed for a single, precise strike. Aerith warned him that even if everyone worked together, they couldn't defeat it. But the warrior was determined not to back down. He began to execute a powerful sword technique, channeling intense light energy into his blade. With his eyes intensely focused, he activated the final form of his fighting style, radiating a terrifying, brilliant golden aura. Looking at that massive amount of energy, Aerith realized her companion had absolutely no intention of giving up. Xenon leaped forward with his glowing sword, charging straight at the giant monster clad in black armor. The monster reached out a massive hand covered in red fire to block the hero's blinding attack. Xenon gritted his teeth against the terrifying pressure from the enemy's flames that were trying to incinerate it. Despite facing immense resistance, the warrior persisted in pushing his attack through his opponent's sea of fire. He struck the monster's sturdy armor, causing it to crack under the power of his holy sword. Knowing he needed more power to overcome the enemy, Xenon desperately called for Aerith's support. The mage quickly responded and began casting support magic. With a blue aura surrounding her body, Aerith created magic platforms in midair to help the hero gain momentum and increase his attack speed. The monster brought a terrifying blow down onto the ground, but Xenon successfully dodged by jumping high from the magic platforms. He used his very last bit of strength to soar into the sky, preparing for his most powerful move. Shouting a war cry, the warrior funneled all his remaining holy lightning into his light blade. Shouting a war cry, the warrior funneled all his remaining holy lightning into his light blade. Aerith was amazed by the terrifying power of that move and believed they might have a chance to win. However, she panicked when she saw the monster still standing intact, completely unscathed after the attack. Even when facing resistance so absurd it was monstrous, the swordsman refused to stop and tried to continue his attack. Even when facing resistance so absurd it was monstrous, the swordsman refused to stop and tried to continue his attack. Worried, Aerith frantically screamed a warning that his body structure wouldn't hold up if he continued to push himself like that. Despite the warning, Xenon insisted on fighting and tried to muster every bit of remaining energy. Realizing her friend's reckless determination, the mage wore a look on her face that indicated she had made an extreme decision. She reached into her cloak and took out a mysterious item she had kept hidden. The young girl summoned a prison of light that completely restrained Xenon, leaving him extremely confused. Aerith explained that he was the last hope to save the world, so she couldn't let him fall here. She said she was entrusting everything to him because she firmly believed he could change this terrifying fate. The mage then took out a gold pocket watch. It was a magic relic passed down through many generations in her family. A giant red magic circle appeared above their heads, as she warned there was no time left to explain. She demanded that Xenon promise that when they met again, he wouldn't let those bastards win. The watch began to glow intensely while the hero demanded to know what she was planning to do. The mage said she was placing the fate of the entire world in his hands, but the swordsman begged to be released so he could keep fighting. The magic circle activated in front of Xenon, enveloping the hero in a powerful and mysterious stream of light. With tears in her eyes, she said goodbye to her companion, offering a sad but accepting smile. A massive beam of blue light shot straight into the sky, marking the activation of the ultimate magic. The energy spread out, destroying everything around it during the casting process. After the blinding light, the mysterious pocket watch fell onto the desolate, cracked battlefield. The golden relic lay on the barren ground, completely broken after the fierce battle. Aerith collapsed on the ground, extremely weak coughing violently while trying to stay conscious after using the relic. Looking toward the horizon, the young girl offered a weak smile as she realized the teleportation spell had succeeded. That was the mysterious watch of the ancients, a legendary item with the ability to alter reality and cause reincarnation. Xenon's soul drifted in the infinite space, still able to hear the last words of hope from his friend. Aerith prayed silently one last time, hoping he could change the chaotic reality of that world. Collapsing on the ground with a body full of wounds, the young mage pleaded that her desperate wish for salvation would become a reality. Amidst a massive explosion in her thoughts, she expressed a desire to win his heart in the next life. The scene shifted to a mansion. The warrior woke up in a panic, shouting the name of his companion in a grand palace during the day. Now, with black hair, he stood up in confusion on a luxurious bed. Feeling a throbbing pain in his head, he looked around the opulent noble room and realized this was definitely the effect of the time travel relic. The young man looked at his body, trying to understand what had just happened to his reality. Just then, a young maid entered the room looking slightly panicked and asked if anything was wrong. He ordered her to bring him a weapon so he could go back to fighting, but she thought that young Master Noah had just experienced a nightmare. Confused by being called by a different name, he asked who she was, and the young girl introduced herself as Lydia, his maid. The young man clenched his wrists, realizing the texture of his flesh was completely different. He was extremely shocked when he looked at his hands, realizing this was definitely not his original body. The young man wondered if he had possessed someone else's body, or if something even more horrific had happened. He directly asked where they were and who he was, making the maid extremely worried about his attitude. Lydia took a step back, suspecting he was talking strangely because of a high fever causing delirium. Unable to be patient any longer, the young man grabbed her shoulders, demanding she immediately answer his direct questions. She revealed that this was the Doskull mansion, and he was the fourth son of the family, known as young Master Noah Doskull. When asked about the kingdom's calendar, she replied it was currently the year 850. The warrior realized the relic had sent him back in time, 10 years before the world-ending invasion began. Even worse, he had reincarnated straight into the feared Doskull family, the sworn enemy of holy swordsmen like him. Just then, there was a knock at the door announcing someone had arrived, claiming to be Selena. Another maid entered the room, carrying a bowl and saying she had brought medicine for the young master. She said Lord Skull had prepared this dose because he was worried about the young master's frail health. The young man stared at the bowl of medicine. With deep purple eyes full of suspicion, he analyzed the red liquid and started to suspect there was something very wrong with the ingredients of the medicine. With a quick slap, he knocked the bowl away, causing it to shatter on the floor and scaring the two maids. 3 of the house's guards rushed into the room with serious expressions. Noah harshly asked who they were. The squad captain said they heard suspicious noises and came to check. The long-haired soldier observed the situation with a cold, calculating gaze that couldn't help but be noticed. He scolded Noah for wasting Lord Skull's kindness and warned he would bring a new dose immediately. Noah mocked the word medicine, causing the soldier to threaten to use force if he continued to insult his master. The young man then challenged the soldier to drink that liquid himself, bluntly accusing it of being poison. Thanks to his old experience and power, he knew that holy energy would repel evil aura, and the color of this medicine confirmed it was poison. Seeing they had been exposed, the captain said he would be forced to make him drink it. Noah laughed arrogantly, realizing their mask of fake loyalty had finally fallen. The young man said these soldiers would be great punching bag for him to get used to his new body's reflexes. With a provocative gaze, the warrior warned that he would happily play around a bit with these traitors. The captain ordered 2 subordinates to step out and subdue the young master by force. The 2 underlings obeyed immediately and advanced toward him under the worried gaze of the 2 maids. One lunged, intending to grab Noah, but the young man was ready to counterattack. He dodged flexibly and then delivered a powerful kick straight into the first soldier's stomach. The other man gasped, flying backward and hitting the wall hard. Feeling the weight of the blow, the second soldier rushed in a rage, throwing a punch, but Noah ducked and dodged extremely gracefully. He took advantage of the opening to land a precise uppercut to his opponent's chin. Seeing the 2 fall, Noah realized this new body was still weak. He couldn't take them down completely yet. He decided he would investigate the motive behind this poisoning plot. As soon as he cleaned up the mess, the captain ordered the remaining soldiers to draw their swords to finish him off. No longer worried about hurting Noah, the hero prepared to fight seriously. But he was surprised when something strange appeared before his eyes. Information panels showing the enemy's stats and abilities floated in midair while they screamed for him to surrender. Noah was amazed to see an assessment window appear, revealing the attributes of those around him. He wondered where this rare skill came from, while nodding at the assessment that the opponent's technical skill was still very low. Two soldiers rushed to attack, swinging their swords down, but the young man dodged skillfully and easily. One man couldn't react in time when he saw Noah's fist flying toward his face at terrifying speed. The young man delivered a powerful spinning back kick, easily knocking his opponent to the ground. Taking advantage of the fallen enemy, Noah snatched a soldier's weapon and gripped the sword tight. The remaining one saw this and rushed to attack head-on, but Noah used his new weapon to block the strike. The young man skillfully pushed the traitor back, leaving the two maids amazed at the sight. The captain sarcastically complimented his strength. Noah provoked him not to stand there, but to make a real move. Suddenly, Noah's eyes widened when he felt a dangerous and dramatic change happening within his own energy. A dark purple mist began to radiate from his body, revealing the terrifying existence of a dark energy core. This was the signature energy source of the fearsome swordsmen of the Dazkul family. Conversely, the holy core was a divine light source that originally belonged to the old, glorious bloodline. Under normal conditions, these two opposing forces could absolutely not coexist in a warrior's body. The captain laughed loudly when he saw the dark core swirling out of control, then decided to reveal a terrifying secret to the young master. He revealed that the previous medicine was actually a poison designed to overload dark energy. The villain explained that his fighting had triggered a chaotic flow of energy that would destroy Noah from the inside. Realizing the danger as his body was about to collapse, the hero decided to bet everything on a desperate gamble for survival. He tried to do something unprecedented, controlling two opposing energy flows in his chest. At the same time, he used the cleansing energy of the holy core to suppress the violent onslaught of the dark force. The captain mocked the hero's desperate effort and prepared to execute his first dark technique. The villain lunged like a hazy red shadow, launching an attack so fast it seemed to tear through space. Noah remained calm and focused, tracking his opponent's movements despite being under heavy pressure. He raised his sword at the perfect moment, blocking the ambush and creating a massive energy shockwave. The villain was shocked to see the young master could react in time to a stealth attack powered by dark force. Angry at being blocked, the soldier called him a weakling and told him he should know his place. Noah gave a cold look, showing that he wasn't angered by meaningless insults. The young man swung his sword in a perfect circle, creating a brilliant golden light shield surrounding him. The opponent countered by mobilizing a massive amount of dark aura and launching a destructive attack toward him. Two massive energy flows collided, creating a spectacular clash between golden light and red darkness. The soldier began to feel the terrifying pressure from Noah's attack and realized he was about to be completely overwhelmed. Noah seized the opening, slashing through the enemy's darkness with a series of fast and precise sword techniques. With a flexible leap, he struck his opponent, tearing his clothes and causing a deep wound. Noah analyzed his opponent's limits and knew he needed to end the fight soon before his body collapsed. The villain still tried to keep an arrogant air, laughing at Noah's visible exhaustion. Noah smiled in response and pointed out that his enemy's polite way of speaking had disappeared, revealing clear desperation and panic. Irritated by the young man's arrogant attitude, the villain lunged, launching a frantic attack surrounded by dense dark aura. He screamed in anger, asserting that Noah absolutely could not predict or escape his presence. Stealth skill activated, Noah was surrounded by a vortex of red mist that completely obscured his vision and tried to disorient. The two maids watched anxiously from afar, unable to see that the young master had disappeared into the dark attack. Noah focused completely on his combat intuition, letting his aura shine through the mist. The young man identified his opponent's blind spot and delivered a precise slash right in the middle of the villain's hidden lunge. A fierce explosion echoed in the room, ending the fight with a powerful and sudden conclusion. The soldier collapsed to the ground, seriously injured. Unable to understand how the young master could break his secret skill, Noah explained that even though he had hidden his body, his aura still gave him away because he relied too much on a simple trick. Completely terrified, the villain collapsed on the floor, exhausted, trying to understand the source of that overwhelming power. Noah gripped his sword, calmly saying that even he didn't fully understand the limits of this new hybrid power. He reflected on how perfectly the old holy core and the new dark core had blended together. He realized his power was now a perfect fusion of the original holy core and the new body's dark core. The young man thought that if he could master this unprecedented hybrid power, he would have the ability to save the world once again. With a faint smile, he silently thanked his departed friend for bringing him new hope. The servants rushed to the young man in a panic, checking to see if he was hurt and if they needed to call a doctor. Noah affirmed he was fine, but his attention was drawn to a small, winged black creature appearing at the bedroom window. It was a small post-dragon carrying an important sealed letter. Lydia took the letter and explained that this was an official summons directly from the head of the family, Lord Victor. The maid gave the sealed letter to the young master, reminding him that the family head wanted to confirm his participation in the succession contest. Noah stared at the paper with a contemplative look. Knowing he needed to gather information about this succession war to plan for the future, the hero decided to ask the two maids if they knew details about the terrible conflict among the heirs. Lydia immediately confirmed, adding that every servant in the Da schoolhouse was familiar with the rules of the trial. She explained that this conflict was designed to forge the bloodline, essentially a hunt for energy cores. In this contest, siblings would fight, and the winner would have the right to claim the loser's dark core. Noah realized in horror that for generations, members of this family had destroyed each other to compete for the position of family head. The maid worriedly asked if the young master really intended to risk his life to participate in such a cruel trial. Smiling mysteriously, the young man confidently replied that she would know the answer soon enough. He recalled that in his previous life, the glorious family was beloved by the people as a true symbol of divine justice. However, the Daskell family was completely the opposite. They were feared and hated for using the forbidden power of the Dark Core. Although mysterious, everyone knew the current head, Victor Daskell, was considered the strongest swordsman in humanity. Dressed formally and politely, the young man headed toward the main gate of the Great Hall. Determined to understand this place, he took a deep breath, focusing on observing with his own eyes the truth hidden behind this notorious criminal family. The young man entered the Great Hall imposingly, formally announcing his presence as Noah Daskell. He walked on the red carpet, observing the brothers and sisters waiting in line right in the middle of the hall. Noah walked slowly and elegantly, carefully analyzing the posture of every member of the new family. The eldest son of the bloodline was Damien Daskell, a warrior clad in heavy armor with an extremely serious expression. Beside him was Julia Daskell, the eldest daughter with long silver hair and a cold, distant expression. The second son was Keys Daskell, a messy blonde-haired guy who looked extremely bored and indifferent. The second daughter was Eve Daskell, a black-haired girl who kept a quiet and calm demeanor. Suddenly, Noah's eyes were filled with rage when he saw the brother who had plotted to ruin his health. That was the third son, Skull Daskell, the red-haired guy who had poisoned him. Julia quietly noticed the change in Noah, and the young man confirmed that he had finally found the cause of his illness. When asked, the young man surprised everyone by declaring he would put his all into training his swordsmanship. Julia narrowed her eyes suspiciously, noticing the strong change in her younger brother's attitude. Skullhead interjected, mocking the training intention and advising Noah not to waste time on something useless. Noah retorted that a coward who didn't dare face him directly should just shut his mouth. Skull was enraged by his younger brother's arrogant response, gritting his teeth and threatening to finish him off. Eve stepped out with authority, telling both to shut up and warning that the time for arguing was over. A soldier at the scene loudly announced that the powerful family head, Lord Victor, had just arrived at the Great Hall. Heavy footsteps echoed on the red carpet as the fearsome family head moved toward the imposing Iron Throne. The older children immediately lowered their eyes and bowed their heads, showing deep reverence for the formidable patriarch. The younger ones followed suit, displaying the extreme fear and submission they all held for their father. Noah felt a chill run down his spine as he faced an overwhelming presence that radiated terrifying power. He recognized the legendary black-armored swordsman whose achievements were famous in his previous life. This was the fearsome Victor Daskul, a 9-star dark swordsman, considered the strongest in the world. The family head sat on the throne, observing the gathered group and remarking with satisfaction that all heirs were present. Victor folded his arms imposingly and officially declared the start of the succession contest. He focused his stern gaze on his fourth son and explained that this summons was to confirm Noah's intentions. The patriarch asked the young man what he hoped to achieve with a frail body that had barely survived his illness. The young man offered a slight, sarcastic, and confident smile, proving he was completely unafraid of his father's authority. With a decisive attitude, Noah spoke clearly, declaring he would participate in the battle and be the sole victor. Victor threateningly asked if his son was truly prepared to declare war on all the candidates present. Noah calmly replied that his father had misunderstood, leaving the powerful patriarch curious about such arrogance. The young man then clarified that his true intention was to declare war on absolutely everyone in this hall. Damien and Julia listened to the declaration with contempt, while Noah only viewed them as obstacles he needed to overcome. The hero knew very well that his list of opponents to defeat was not limited to his biological siblings. He showed extraordinary courage by including even the family head, Victor, on the list of those he intended to surpass. Noah offered a provocative smile, clearly asserting to everyone that he wouldn't spare even his own father in the contest. Irritated, Victor unleashed a massive wave of dark aura that slammed directly into the hero with extremely violent force. The pressure from the patriarch's dark aura was so strong it began to crack the giant stone pillars in the hall. Debris fell from the walls as a horrifying amount of destructive power spread throughout the room. Despite enduring the crushing pressure, Noah still stood bravely. Realizing his father's truly terrifying power, Victor glanced at him with contempt and asked if the young master really believed he was capable of surpassing him. Noah smiled without a hint of fear and answered briefly, confirming directly, yes, without hesitating for even a second. The father continued to interrogate him, wanting to know the true reason the young man was seeking such immense power. The hero replied seriously that he needed power to ensure no one could ever take anything away from him again in this life. Hearing that selfishly ambitious answer, the family head burst into loud laughter, revealing his satisfaction. Victor said he liked this attitude, and that such greed was a highly admirable quality in a Daskul heir. The patriarch declared that Noah would be allowed to join the contest, and challenged any heir who disagreed to step forward. The siblings reacted differently, while the ruthless Skull was raging mad because his plan to eliminate him had failed. The powerful family head ordered Noah to always hunger for power, encouraging the heir to always seek more primal strength. The next day, the young man found himself in the mansion's sun-drenched training ground, ready to start a grueling training regimen. With quick and precise movements, he slashed at a straw mannequin, testing the accuracy and speed of his blade. The mannequin was cut in two, and Noah observed the result while two maids stood at a distance, watching him train with admiring eyes. He felt his physique had improved significantly, but he still knew he was only at a basic level for fight. Because of the fusion of the two cores, he couldn't use standard light techniques or the family's dark moves. The young man focused his attention on his hands, trying to explore the secrets and potential of this hybrid power. Noah realized he needed to hide the existence of the holy core from everyone to avoid his true identity being discovered. Suddenly, Julia appeared at the training area, observing the young man and commenting that he moved quite well for someone who had just been bettered. She remarked that previously only Damien was the father's favorite child, But now Noah had also captured the patriarch's attention. Julia approached the weapon rack, revealing she had come to personally test her younger brother's new fighting ability. With a serious face, she grabbed a wooden sword and told her brother they would start immediately. Giving Noah no time to react, she launched a surprise attack, catching the hero off guard with her sister's aggression. He was forced to jump back extremely quickly to dodge the agile attack from his sister. Julia offered a cunning smile, sarcastically asking if he really thought she had just come to talk. Noah clicked his tongue in frustration, realizing he wouldn't have time to rest and had to fight this powerful relative seriously. Julia lunged, unleashing an extremely agile chain of sword strikes in the training yard. The hero used his training sword to block the strikes, using the fight to understand the limits of his current strength. Julia increased her attack speed, constantly stabbing accurately, trying to break his defense. She stomped her feet hard on the ground, and then launched a direct kick. Although the protagonist used his sword to block, his body was still pushed backward. Julia remarked that her younger brother did have talent, but his level was still far from acceptable. Noah checked Julia's status board and discovered his sister was a formidable 7-star warrior. The hero smirked when confirming his sister's impressive strength. Realizing that defeating this opponent would be very difficult, the girl called his performance disappointing and lunged in a rage, unleashing a lethal slash at high speed. Noah's eyes widened, astonished by the absurd speed of the attack rushing straight at his body. With no other choice, he gripped the wooden sword and activated the power of his hybrid core, radiating powerful, mixed energy. The young man blocked the terrifying collision, pushing his sister's blade away at the last moment amidst the sound of clashing energy. The hero had to use immense physical strength to withstand the pressure. He realized his holy dark core was still very unstable. With quick movements, he parried his sister's sword and countered flexibly, releasing a powerful flow of mixed light. Julia blocked the strike, but asked in surprise if this was the holy dark core rumored to be a failure. She reminded him that she had heard rumors that his core had been disabled since birth. Curious, Noah realized this body had possessed the holy dark core from the beginning, and everyone assumed it was disabled. He concluded that since no one knew his power was a rare mix, fighting for real wasn't an issue. Noah lunged, unleashing a downward slash with all his hybrid energy glowing around the blade. The young man was briefly distracted. Julia sarcastically remarked that he seemed to be enjoying himself. Julia dodged extremely easily and closed the distance, calling her brother's name in a calm voice. She asked if he knew the true goal of the succession contest, and the young man confirmed he knew the answer. Julia said that would save time, as Noah's wooden sword was swiped far away out of the training yard. The girl was enveloped in a layer of dense, cold, dark aura, and coldly asked Noah if she could take his core. The hero's eyes widened, extremely shocked and tense when realizing his sister's sudden, ruthless intention. Noah desperately shouted for Selena, demanding she bring his real sword, and the maid ran off to obey. The maid threw the powerful metal sword into the air so the young master could defend himself in time. Noah leaped to grab the hilt, channeling all his electrical power to resist his sister's momentum. A massive red and purple energy collision occurred, causing the young man to groan in pain under the terrifying impact. Noah gritted his teeth, trying to withstand the absurd physical strength the girl was pouring into her blade. Julia continuously unleashed agile sword maneuvers, but the young man still blocked the strikes skillfully. He focused his purple eyes on the enemy's blade, looking for openings in Julia's fighting style. The girl smiled sarcastically and admitted her brother had surprised her in a positive way. She enthusiastically demanded he show more skill while continuing to press him with aggressive attacks. Julia retreated, jumped backward, and challenged Noah to see if he could withstand her next special move. The girl readied her stance, performing a special dark fighting stance called Dance of the Dark Fire Sword. Noah recognized the danger of that overwhelming attack and decided to use all his available energy to prevent it. Julia lunged, unleashing a fiery red dark slash from above straight at the young man. The hero blocked the strike at the final millisecond, creating a huge explosion with red and yellow sparks. The terrifying collision between the two swords created a strong gust of wind, forcing the two maids to shield themselves from the flying dust. The girl noticed his defensive posture and provocatively asked if he intended to keep fighting with only one hand. She challenged him to use both hands if he wanted to resist the incredible primal power she was applying in this match. The male lead naturally leaned to one side, causing his sister to lose momentum and lunge forward. Seizing the opportunity, the male lead tightened his grip on his sword, preparing to attack. However, despite all his excellent reactions, Julia still managed to bring her sword behind her back to block. With a groan of effort, the young master used all his strength to push back his sister's powerful weapon. Noah offered a sarcastic smile, realizing he had finally forced his sister to use both hands to defend herself. Although he blocked it, the pressure of the strike still pushed Noah back, causing him to slide along the ground at high speed. He gritted his teeth in anger, feeling extreme exhaustion and soreness after the intense skirmish with his sister. The young man broke his momentum, causing the stone floor of the training ground to crack under his feet due to the immense force. Julia looked at him with an extremely serious expression in silence. Analyzing the current exhausted state of the youngest heir, Noah panted, realizing that using the full power of his hybrid core was only enough to block that one strike. The young warrior anxiously noticed his hands were shaking violently from energy overload. He silently lamented that this was the current physical limit that his unstable hybrid core could endure. Julia asked if he knew why members of the Da schoolhouse didn't kill each other right at the beginning of the contest. She explained that a weak dark core develops slowly, so no one pays attention to weak heirs. The girl said harvesting a core before it reaches a good level is useless. She then focused her eyes on her dark weapon. She added that Noah had blocked and countered her strike in an extremely unexpected way. Julia shifted into a hostile stance, declaring that a core with such durability was already worth taking. Noah clicked his tongue in frustration when realizing his sister was about to attack him with truly ruthless intentions. Julia lunged, gathering dark fire on her blade to execute the 8th form of her fighting style. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out, ordering her to stop the attack immediately, cutting off the girl's lethal action. An armored warrior named Kyle quickly appeared, using his sword to block Julia's downward slash. Kyle shouted desperately, warning the girl that if she continued that violent attack, Noah would truly be finished. Julia told him not to interfere with the core contest, but he countered that Noah's core was currently at a very low level. Julia coldly replied that that was impossible because her younger brother had blocked her strongest strike. Meanwhile, Noah stood right behind Kyle with an exhausted expression, gritting his teeth while staring at his formidable opponent. Kyle explained that he had investigated at the Patriarch's request and confirmed Noah's core had completely exhausted its power. He asked how a core, supposed to be much stronger, couldn't withstand such basic limits. Noah was completely exhausted while trying to recover his strength after the intense confrontation with his sister. Realizing his condition, Julia sheathed her sword and admitted she might have been wrong about the boy's true strength. She specifically warned her younger brother that she still intended to take his core in the future. The young girl challenged her brother to a real duel once he was stronger and his power had evolved. Noah offered a confident smile and told his sister he would be looking forward to that real battle. As she left the training ground, Julia began to think there was something very strange about Noah's abilities. She recalled their collision, knowing that the strike absolutely could not have been blocked by someone at such a low level. She concluded with suspicion that her younger brother was hiding his true combat potential. Julia smiled slightly, feeling the entire situation was extremely interesting and compelling, hoping Noah would grow in a very remarkable way. Meanwhile, angry roars echoed from another corner of the mansion. Skull appeared in a fit of mad rage, smashing a glass into a subordinate's forehead as his hatred surged. He couldn't accept that someone as weak as Noah was allowed to participate in the Great Succession contest. He roared in frustration because even he hadn't received that much attention from the Patriarch in his entire life. He screamed that he would never accept this situation. The subordinate then cautiously approached and whispered an important secret into his master's ear. After hearing the information, Skull offered a cunning smile, revealing he had just had a quite interesting idea. With a crazed look in his eyes, the villain vowed that he would brutally drag Noah out of this succession race. Back at the training ground, Kyle apologized for being late and formally introduced himself in front of Noah and the two maids. The warrior revealed that he had been officially tasked by the patriarch to be the young master's new combat coach. He explained that the family ordered the training to make up for the time the young master had been bettered in. Noah activated his special assessment skill to analyze the new coach's power level in detail. He saw this man's stats were very impressive and concluded that his capabilities were perfectly sufficient. Kyle asked if they should start training, but the young master hesitated upon noticing the man was holding a piece of paper. The warrior reached forward, handing him the sealed letter, and said he had received direct orders from the patriarch, Victor. Noah opened the letter to read it. This was his first official mission, to investigate and destroy the source of the dangerous Scorpia phenomenon. This dangerous phenomenon attracts horrific monsters and can only be ended after defeating the area's leader. Noah smiled slightly, realizing this risky mission could be the perfect opportunity he needed. He planned to take advantage of the circumstances of this difficult mission to evolve his power without raising suspicion. Deep in the forest, a soldier stepped forward with a glowing sword, slashing through an insect monster that appeared in their path. Kyle led the group, ordering them to maintain a fast pace and eliminate every creature in this dense forest. The soldiers quickly cleared the area while collecting valuable materials from the monster corpses lying strewn across the ground. Some subordinates whispered mockingly, "Noah must be terrified because he's just a weak warrior." Kyle also silently wondered why the family had paid so much attention to someone with such a low rank. Suddenly, a warning scream caught Noah and Kyle's attention. Both looked toward the treetops in surprise. They discovered a group of small children had collapsed and were lying completely unconscious on the forest floor. Noah asked what to do. Realizing the children seemed to be affected by the Scorpia in the area, Kyle replied that the mission was urgent, so they would take the children with them to avoid losing more time. The warriors carried the children on their shoulders and continued to move quickly toward the depths of the dark forest. Streams of purple energy cut across the air as the atmosphere became increasingly thick and unnatural. Giant ancient trees cast shadows, covered in poisonous mist, severely hindering the group's vision. Noah warned that the concentration of dark energy was soaring and the monster leader was definitely nearby. Suddenly, the sharp claws of a giant creature swooped down from the treetops, breaking branches violently. Everyone panicked, realizing the sudden appearance of the giant beast known as the Scorpia Scorpion. Kyle shouted desperately, ordering the soldiers to protect the children and take them to a safe place immediately. The coach warned that the monster's shell was too hard and they needed a tactical plan before attacking. The beast's terrifying glowing stinger was raised high in the air, preparing to launch a destructive strike at the rescue team. Noah's eyes widened, and he shouted a desperate warning, telling everyone that a lethal blow was heading straight for them. The massive attack slammed into the ground with extremely violent force, sending soldiers flying amidst a cloud of dust. A soldier was horrified by the absurd speed and terrifying power of the monster's stinger. The group felt desperate, believing Noah would be easily defeated because he only had 2-star strength. The giant monster began spraying toxic gas and acid at everyone nearby. Noah remained calm and activated his hybrid aura, channeling all his energy into his blade. The hero lunged at high speed, confronting the sharp claws of the giant scorpion without any fear. He slashed accurately, pushing back the monster's pincers amidst a shower of brilliant sparks. Kyle was impressed by his defensive ability, but warned that the monster's true danger lay in its lethal toxins. The scorpion fired thick, dark blue acid jets straight at the young master. With acrobatic movements in the air, the hero skillfully dodged every corrosive shot. The aggressive beast attacked with its stinger, dripping a large amount of deadly venom onto the ground. Noah used his mental strength to prevent a direct collision from the stinger, hurtling down at high speed. The young man fixed his purple eyes on the creature and decided to give it his all to end the fight quickly. He unleashed a crushing counterattack, sending his opponent's stinger flying with terrifying power. A soldier praised the young master's excellent swordsmanship, even though he knew his core was supposed to be weak. Tension escalated as the group watched in horror as the monster's stinger completely regenerated. The scorpion lunged relentlessly, forcing the young master to retreat to avoid the attacks. Noah ran his fingers along the blade, guiding the fusion of the two energy flows to enhance his weapon. He gripped the hilt with both hands, preparing to unleash a focused strike on the monster. The warrior jumped onto the beast's back, intending to slash straight into his opponent's shell. As he slashed down, Noah realized the monster's natural armor was too hard to pierce. The metal blade slid off without causing real damage, only creating sparks on the black shell. Noah gritted his teeth in frustration at the absurd durability of the insect armor. Kyle observed the battle, curiously wondering how the young master had learned such perfect techniques without a coach. The young master called Kyle, demanding support immediately, and the coach quickly replied that he would provide cover. Noah asked his master to create an opening for the monster. Kyle took the order and ensured the action would be successful. The beast's terrifying stinger aimed at the coach, who was preparing to withstand the violent impact. Kyle roared a war cry, focusing his power to face the giant scorpion's direct attack. With his heavy sword, the coach blocked and temporarily restrained his opponent's fearsome stinger. Noah realized his master's excellent contribution and ran toward the beast's body with an item in his hand. The young man gained momentum and skillfully jumped onto his opponent's back, where the weak spot was exposed. He landed precisely on the enemy's shell, maintaining perfect balance. Noah drew the sharp, venomous spider fangs he had secretly collected early. He used all his physical strength to drive the acid-coated fangs deep into the monster's armor. The fangs pierced through the hard shell, creating deep cracks that began to smoke. The scorpion roared in agony as the concentrated spider toxin began its destructive work. Seizing the opportunity, the protagonist jumped off the scorpion's back. Then, the giant body of the scorpion collapsed to the ground. Kyle asked if those were the fangs from the monsters they had dealt with on their way in. He explained that the acid from those monsters was the only way to soften the enemy's shell. Kyle finally understood the young master's strategy and the reason he had collected those items. The scorpion rolled its many red eyes, preparing a violent reaction in its pain. The beast tried to slam its body into the ground to trigger a skill. Huge blue magic circles appeared in the forest sky, ready to be activated. The master prepared to unleash the third form of the shadow sword style against the enemy. He plunged his sword forcefully into the ground, releasing a massive amount of purple magic energy. A giant barrier rose from the ground, trapping the scorpion and preventing it from escaping. Noah smiled, realizing the trap had been set, and this was the ideal opportunity to finish off the beast. The young man leaped high, focusing all the energy of his hybrid aura. He stood in an imposing stance and began to summon his newly created holy magic style to deliver the final blow. Inspired by Julia, the hero decided to test a new variation using the power of his hybrid core. Screaming a resounding war cry, the young man activated Light and Shadow Sword Dance to strike the terrifying opponent. Noah dove down like a brilliant meteor, tearing through the air with a fearsome stream of purple and yellow energy. The massive impact of the move hit the monster, splitting the weakened shell right down the middle. The giant scorpion was completely defeated, exploding into pieces and spraying corrosive green liquid all over the ground. The soldiers watched it all in awe, unable to believe that a two-star warrior possessed such power. Noah secretly thought that he had tried to imitate his sister's move, but knew he still had a lot of evolving to do. The young man said they did well, and told Kyle he would leave the area clean up to him. The trainer asked where he was going, and the young master replied that he needed to handle a personal matter. The hero then left the group, heading alone toward the deepest, darkest part of the forest. Noah remembered that in this era, humanity had not yet discovered the true origin of mana outbreaks. However, he knew these phenomena were deliberately created using extremely powerful magic tools. The young man approached a giant ancient tree that was emitting a mysterious pale blue light at the base of its trunk. With a quick and precise sword strike, he created a hole in the wood to investigate what was hidden inside. Inside the tree, the hero found a glowing ring that was acting as a catalyst for dark energy. Noah took the magic item with a satisfied smile, confirming that he had finally found the device. Suddenly, a desperate scream echoed from the area where the soldiers and the children had stayed. Noah was extremely shocked to hear the cry, realizing something terrible was happening to his allies. Without hesitation, The young man turned around and ran at maximum speed back to the rescue team's camp. Upon arriving, he saw the children had collapsed on the ground, radiating dangerous green energy around their bodies. A soldier ran toward him, shouting that the monsters in the forest were acting strangely. Noah entered a defensive stance and drew his weapon, sensing a massive source of hostility rapidly approaching the area. A swarm of giant wild monsters appeared from every direction, completely surrounding the family's warriors. The swarm of insects lunged ferociously, forcing the group to switch to a defensive stance to protect those who were injured. The young master activated his yellow and purple combat aura, preparing to block the first wave of attacks. Kyle appeared just in time, launching a powerful blow to support Noah's dangerous position. The trainer blocked the monster's momentum. As the soldiers cheered in relief at being saved, Noah sternly ordered them to hold their positions so he could have time to clear up the situation. He focused his attention on the mysterious necklace worn around the neck of one of the unconscious children lying on the ground. Noah realized this item was draining the victim's magic energy, a cruel method that had once destroyed his family in his previous life. Kyle warned that the swarm of monsters was too numerous and they couldn't hold out much longer. The hero decided to use his hybrid core to interfere with the item's flow and track down the person controlling the magic. He touched the mysterious necklace, causing his powerful mental energy to resonate with the object's mana. Noah closed his eyes, focusing entirely on tracking the source of the power vibrations that were commanding the monsters. He identified the location of a masked, red-eyed individual hiding in the shadows and gloating with joy. Having found him, the young man told his allies he would be leaving for a moment and ordered everyone to protect the children at all costs. Noah darted like lightning through the battlefield, slashing through the wolves and goblins, trying to block his path. He ran fast, deep into the forest, following the trail of the controller's magic energy, moving at a terrifying speed. He looked like a blurred streak of light gliding through the dark scenery of the forest. Noah stopped in the middle of a clearing and loudly demanded that the hidden enemy reveal themselves immediately. Suddenly, the masked man jumped down from the treetops, and he swung his sword in an ambush. He jumped to one side, dodging the attack. The two warriors backed away, keeping a defensive stance while the intruder looked at Noah suspiciously. The villain was surprised that Noah could sense his presence and admitted that he was indeed the rightful heir. Noah demanded to know who ordered the ambush, but the masked man refused to answer. The young hero gave a provocative smile and asserted that he would force his opponent to reveal everything he knew anyway. They lunged at each other, exchanging extremely fast sword strikes in a high-speed clash. The attacker was astonished by Noah's overwhelming power and wondered if it originated from the Dark Core. Noah sarcastically replied that even he didn't fully understand how his power worked yet. The hero stood in his stance, radiating a mixed aura while the attacker tried to analyze Noah's mysterious abilities. The culprit channeled energy into his sword and decided to activate the second form of the shadow style. The villain used phantom sword techniques, creating multiple dark energy blades around himself. He ordered the red projectiles to fire, throwing them at high speed to pressure and hit the hero. Noah remained calm, skillfully dodging the magic blades that merely grazed his body. Utilizing his flexible swordsmanship, the young man skillfully blocked the remaining slashes aimed at his chest. Noah felt the impact and decided to activate his appraisal skill to expose the opponent's true identity. He discovered the enemy was named Darius, who possessed a 5-star core, but the attacker mocked him for backing down. The hero realized the villain's swordsmanship was quite weak and understood that he only needed to get close to end the fight. Noah lunged forward, running aggressively toward Darius while dodging each ray of dark energy. He skillfully dodged another attack from the flank, continuing to close the distance to the culprit. With steady and agile footwork, the young man gained momentum on the grass, accelerating even more powerfully toward the opening to deliver a fatal blow. Noah leaped gracefully over the opponent's head, easily bypassing all the defenses the villain had set up. In midair, he raised his glowing sword, preparing a direct strike at the enemy's unprotected neck. The two blades clashed powerfully, creating terrifying mental pressure between the two warriors. The attacker laughed loudly behind his mask, thinking the young man was foolish for using such an obvious and predictable move. The villain whipped the air with waves of dark energy, attempting to keep Noah at a distance with magic tentacles. Noah focused and switched to a special stance to activate the first move of the holy magic style. He gathered his mixed power, preparing a surprise attack with speed far exceeding normal levels. The warrior unleashed light image movement, lunging like an untraceable purple streak. Darius panicked, recognizing the legendary move, and tried to defend against the surprise lunge. But it was too late. He turned in terror, trying to raise his metal sword, but realized the young man's speed was irrational. Once he appeared right behind his opponent, Noah whispered, "You're too slow," and delivered a heavy blow to his back. The villain groaned in pain, staggering from the serious wound he had just sustained in his chest. He dropped his sword onto the grass and collapsed to his knees, completely defeated and severely wounded after the battle. Darius angrily asked how a weak outcast of the Da School house could know such a legendary move. Noah secretly thought that his hybrid core allowed him to perfectly replicate the secret techniques of both houses. He knew that mere imitation wasn't enough. The true potential of this mixed power would only come with time. The young man understood that once he fully mastered this hybrid power, he would become the strongest warrior in the world. Noah pointed his sword at the villain's neck and demanded to know who ordered the entire ambush. Darius replied with hatred, telling the young man not to be quick to claim victory because the battle wasn't over yet. Without hesitation, the attacker pulled out a mysterious potion and quickly drank the strange green liquid of power. Noah observed the scene suspiciously, realizing the culprit's mental energy was beginning to change. Darius's body began to swell monstrously, cracking the ground as he screamed in pain. The young man jumped back, terrified by the violent mutation that had changed the enemy's body shape. The attacker's face twisted, becoming monstrous with sharp teeth and cruel eyes. Darius transformed into a giant demon, roaring with rage and releasing crushing waves of dark energy. Noah witnessed the transformation in horror, realizing his opponent had sacrificed his humanity in exchange for power. The horrific monster lunged like lightning, throwing a destructive punch that made the forest ground shake violently. The young master was forced to use all his mixed power, raising his sword to block the beast's lunge. The impact created a massive shockwave, sending debris flying and destroying part of the surrounding vegetation. Noah realized with concern that his weapon wouldn't hold up if he continued to block the beast's attacks. The monster Darius laughed loudly and challenged the young man to prove how much longer he could endure those lethal blows. He attacked from above with claws and crushing punches, trying to tear the young master apart at any cost. A deadly red light emitted from the mutant monster's eyes, signaling it was about to use more power. The giant claws tore through the air with destructive red rays, trying to pressure and annihilate the young man. Noah dodged the destructive blow by a hair's breadth, feeling the terrifying wind current created by the enemy's attack. The giant demon Darius lunged with both fists raised, preparing to crush the young man. Noah jumped high into the air, escaping the monster's grasp, barely touching the ground. In the air and upside down, the hero focused on his power limits. Preparing to counterattack, he performed a perfect salto and landed in a defensive stance, keeping his sword ready to block the next advance. Noah realized he couldn't dodge forever and decided to use a magic item to create an opening. With determination, the young master tightened his grip on the hilt, preparing to activate his trump card. Darius laughed loudly, mocking the hero's feigned weakness, and lunged down from above to crush him completely. The monster loudly declared he would end the battle right there as he lunged aggressively straight at the young man. The beast's giant hand came down at high speed, about to crush Noah's body. In the final moment, the absolute repulsion ring that the hero had found began to shine brilliant. A powerful pink hexagonal shield appeared, blocking the mutant monster's giant punch head-on. The magic barrier created a terrifying repulsion shockwave, sending the giant demon Darius flying backward into the air. Noah smiled confidently as he realized the opening. Realizing that with his hybrid core, he could reuse old techniques, the young man lunged toward the monster hovering helplessly in midair. Channeling all his mental energy, he focused his aim on the undefended opponent in the sky. Preparing to unleash his strongest destructive move, Noah began to summon the powerful holy magic style. Concentrating a massive amount of power into his sword, he raised his weapon, creating a giant purple and yellow energy column that tore through the gloomy forest sky. The young man activated the double pole one-strike technique, unleashing a massive vertical slash. The brilliant beam hit the monster directly, splitting its body in half and creating a terrifying explosion on the battlefield. Noah landed on the ground smoothly and breathed a sigh of relief, having been saved at the last moment by activating the magic ring. He analyzed the absolute repulsion ring, realizing the relic had the ability to nullify any attack and push the attacker back. The young hero decided it was time to return and check on the situation with Kyle and the other soldiers. Meanwhile, the Dashkul soldiers continued to fight bravely against the swarm of giant wild monsters. Kyle gritted his teeth, pouring out all his extreme physical strength, and secretly lamented that he was reaching his limit. A giant goblin took advantage of the exhausted trainer, raising its spiked mace to prepare for the finishing blow. The warrior was desperate, believing he would be hit by the monster's lethal blow as it lost control. However, beyond Kyle's expectations, the monster's mace suddenly stopped in midair the very moment before touching him. The man opened his eyes in confusion, not understanding why all the creatures in the forest had suddenly stopped attacking. The soldiers looked at each other, both relieved and surprised to realize they had luckily survived that terrifying battle. Noah approached, walking leisurely through the gap, and directly asked everyone if they were okay after the clash. Kyle confirmed, still trembling, that everyone had narrowly escaped the intense battle. The young man explained that he had defeated the monster controller, shocking the trainer to learn there was a summoner. Noah confirmed the enemy was real, but said he still needed to find out who hired the mercenary to set the ambush. The soldiers looked at the children who were still unconscious on the ground, but were now safe from the scorpion mist. The young master became contemplative, knowing he needed to act quickly to expose the true culprit behind everything. Returning to the magnificent main estate of the Dashkul family, the hero decided to start his own secret investigation. Noah was furious, thinking that innocent children had almost died because of him, and swore he would capture the mastermind behind the attack. He remembered that young Eve Dashkul was serving as the family's main informant, and she might know something important. The young man focused his gaze firmly, knowing he needed to find solid evidence before his next move. As he was about to enter the palace's restricted area, Noah was suddenly stopped by a firm voice commanding him to halt. His blonde-haired brother, Keys Dashkul, appeared to block his path and sternly warned that he had no right to go in there. The two brothers looked at each other in the outer courtyard, creating an extremely tense atmosphere between the heirs of the family. He remembered the information that the maid Lydia had revealed, confirming that Eve knew the identity of the mastermind. The hero radiated a powerful and stern combat aura, ordering his blonde brother to get out of the way. Keys replied that he was Eve's bodyguard and couldn't let someone exuding such dangerous hostile intent pass through. The blonde young man roared in anger, clearly declaring he didn't trust Noah and would stop him at all costs. Noah regretted the situation, tightened his grip on his sword, and prepared to use force against his own brother. The hero drew his metal sword and firmly declared that he would use force to push through if necessary. Keys also drew his sword, accepting the challenge and grumbling uncomfortably because he had no other choice. Keys lunged like lightning, unleashing flexible sword strikes toward the hero in the outer courtyard. Their blades clashed violently, creating an explosion of sparks between them. Noah endured the terrifying physical pressure of the blow, keeping his sharp gaze focused on his opponent's movements. With a quick motion, the hero pushed Keys back, forcing him to take a few steps into the middle of the courtyard. The two warriors temporarily kept their distance and looked at each other, preparing for the next round of fight. Keys channeled red magic mist into his left hand, accumulating earth and stone elemental power. He slammed his hand into the ground, unleashing the stone spear sword technique, creating huge, sharp stone pillars rising from the ground. Noah was startled by the speed at which the thick and sharp stone blocks were lunging toward him. Noah used his metal sword to block and deflect the opponent's stone projectiles. He destroyed the stone pillars with quick slashes, demonstrating excellent defensive abilities. Keys activated crushing stone fang magic, creating a massive, heavy stone weapon in his hand. Noah was surprised at the size of the stone sword that his opponent swung around so easily. Keys turned extremely quickly, swinging the giant stone weapon toward the hero with a destructive attack. The young master defended himself, raising his holy sword to block the terrifying impact of the stone sword. They began a frantic, continuous string of attacks, making the whole courtyard shake from the power of the blows. The blond young man kept a cold gaze, demonstrating absolute focus on his complex combat strategy. Keys performed quick spins and slashes, forcing Noah to constantly back away to avoid being hit directly. Noah realized his opponent had a complex attack sequence and decided to use his appraisal skill to analyze him. The scoreboard showed that Keys' Doskull possessed formidable attributes at the 8-star level. The young man realized his core was weaker, but his opponent compensated by combining magic with swordsmanship. Noah decided to confront him head-on and activated his holy magic style to use his full mystical power. He gathered his energy and began the light and shadow sword dance, radiating a brilliant golden-purple light. A massive explosion of hybrid energy spread across the courtyard, pushing Keys back with extreme force. The opponent was astonished when he felt the terrifying power emanating directly from the young man's demon core. Keys slid backward due to the gust of wind created by the impact of the magic technique. Showing surprise at such power, he quickly regained his composure and prepared his dark lightning style to unleash the fastest attack. The blond young man lunged forward with the instantaneous movement of black lightning, creating black sparks around his sword blade. Noah recognized this style, remembering its utility in combat thanks to what he had learned from his trainer. He remembered that trainer Kyle had taught him the key characteristics of the family technique. The hero prepared himself, knowing the opponent's attack focused on extreme speed. While Keys realized he knew the theory, the blond young man smiled slightly and warned that knowing theory was very different from facing an actual blow on the battlefield. Without hesitation, Noah challenged his opponent to attack him at maximum speed. Keys swung his sword, firing a chain of red and black light. The entire courtyard was covered by a storm of electrical slashes, completely obscuring Noah's vision. Noah mustered his great physical strength, trying to keep up with his opponent's lightning-fast movements. Shouting loudly, the hero tried to use his maximum power to dodge and defend against the slashes. A massive electrical energy collision erupted in the center of the courtyard, illuminating everything around it. A screen of light and thick dust covered the two warriors, ending the frantic attack sequence. A strong gust of wind blew away the dust accumulated in the courtyard, revealing the damage caused by the fierce battle. Noah appeared amidst the smoke, trying to maintain a defensive stance after absorbing the full pressure of the attack. His clothes were torn and damaged by the power and precision of the lightning strike. He groaned in pain, feeling severe physical exhaustion caused by the enemy's technique. Noah was shocked to realize that even the light and shadow sword dance could not completely block the attack. The young man concluded that imitation techniques from other warriors had distinct limits on the power they could exert. He understood that he needed to urgently develop his own original techniques using his hybrid core. Suddenly, a firm voice ordered the battle to stop immediately, cutting off the confrontation in the courtyard. Young Eve Doskull appeared at the doorway, observing the two warriors with a serious and calm gaze. She decided to invite them into the luxurious living room to understand the true motives behind the entire conflict. After both sat down on the sofa, the girl directly asked why they were fighting. Keys explained that he acted to protect her because Noah arrived with clear and strong hostile intent. Noah curiously asked why someone as important as her in the Doskull family needed a bodyguard. Eve calmly replied that she was not good at physical combat and preferred to keep her distance from fights. Keys asked the reason for Noah's visit and reminded him that her genius brother was not competing for the throne. The girl quickly guessed that her younger brother wanted to find out who was behind the assassins sent to attack him. The young man was quite surprised and asked how she guessed it so quickly. Eve smiled mysteriously and said there were very few things in this world she didn't know. She said she really wanted to help her dear brother, but emphasized that this information came at a very high price. Noah quickly realized this was a trade and directly asked her what she wanted in return. The girl asked if he knew about the legendary Endless Library, making the young master curious. That place was a giant labyrinth of unknown scale, containing secrets that had never been revealed. Many adventurers had established a city nearby, but exploring the deep levels was extremely dangerous. Eve requested that Noah bring her a specific relic from there called the Book of the Abyss. Noah remembered that this book had revolutionized the magic theory he knew in his previous life. He remembered that such knowledge had saved countless lives during the horrific war against the invaders. The hero thought that obtaining this relic earlier than expected could be the key to changing his tragic future. Noah accepted the offer without hesitation and assured her that he would bring the mysterious book back for his sister. The two heirs sealed the deal with a firm handshake, officially establishing a partnership from that moment on. A moment later, a luxurious carriage sped toward the mission's destination. Noah was accompanied by two maids, who looked quite excited about the long journey. They finally arrived at Grandio Arenum, the city housing the magnificent library tower. The young man stepped off the carriage and began to stroll through the bustling cobblestone streets of this new place. Noah knew the interior was such a complex labyrinth that he would need an experienced guide to avoid getting lost. He observed the crowd around him, focusing on finding someone knowledgeable about this place. And as the young master passed through narrow alleys, he attracted the attention of some suspicious residents. The city's majestic and ancient architecture stood out, emphasizing the region's immense historical significance. Meanwhile, at the main estate, Eve was leisurely relaxing on the sofa while sipping tea. The family butler opened the door, announcing that an important guest had arrived to see the young lady. Another heir to the family entered the room with slow steps, maintaining an extremely confident and strategic posture. The newcomer wore a smile on his face, revealing that he had come to ask some questions about Noah. Eve observed her brother with a calm, expressionless gaze, waiting to see what his next move would be. The two sat comfortably on the sofa in the living room, beginning a silent, tension-filled family dialogue. The young lady commented with a tone of disdain that his visit to her private area was extremely rare. Skull admitted he came with the intention of asking for a favor and borrowing his sister's knowledge. He noticed the absence of a bodyguard, and she revealed that Keys had gone on an urgent mission assigned by the family head. Skull gave a sinister smile as he realized his sister was completely unprotected at this moment. Not all worried, Eve took a sip of tea and asserted that her other bodyguards could handle things well. The man complimented her composure and directly asked what she knew about Noah's recent actions. He said he wanted to learn the origin of the power Noah displayed when going head-to-head with Julia. Skull confessed he was obsessed with discovering the secret behind his younger brother's sudden power evolution. The villain added that Noah had even defeated those who attacked him, surprising the young lady with this information. The elegant woman set her teacup aside, maintaining a neutral attitude in the face of his provocations. Eve firmly declared that she would not reveal anything that could directly interfere with the succession struggle. She knew that if she favored one brother, the other candidates would immediately find a way to eliminate her. Skull changed his attitude and threateningly asked if she really intended to refuse to cooperate with him. The young lady retorted by asking if he had something of enough value to compensate for the risk of losing her position. He gave a dark smile and repeated the word compensate, as if plotting something terrible. He warned that she would soon understand that price, just as a sinister shadow appeared right behind her. While the plot was unfolding in the estate, a bright sunny day shone down on the bustling city of Erin. Noah continued walking with absolute focus through the large local market, ignoring the curious gazes of the residents. The young man headed straight for his target, determined to find the answers necessary for his journey. Noah pushed open the wooden door of an antique shop, the small bell tinkling to signal his presence. The young man observed the interior with a sense of nostalgia, remembering that he had finally returned to this special place in his new life. The magic shop owner Osrek appeared and warned the young man that the shop was currently closed. Noah said he didn't come to buy anything, but to hire him as an official guide to explore the endless library. The merchant refused, saying he no longer worked as a guide, but the young man insisted because he was the most knowledgeable person here. Osrek reacted extremely unpleasantly, telling the young master not to make him laugh with such ridiculous boasting. Noah found this reaction very strange because he knew how much this man once loved that mysterious labyrinth of knowledge. The young man directly asked if there was any hidden reason he had given up his job as a local guide. Osrek slammed the table angrily, roaring that this was not a problem the young man could solve or help with. The merchant took a deep breath, looking as if he were carrying a heavy burden of painful emotions and resentment in his heart. I apologize for my rude attitude earlier. I've been very stressed and impatient lately, Osrek confessed. Suddenly, the small doorbell rang again, signaling the unexpected appearance of someone else in the shop. Noah was shocked to see that the newcomer was his sister, Julia. She asked if he was okay. The beautiful silver-haired woman waved with a faint smile on her lips as she entered the shop. She explained that she had seen him on a mission and decided to follow. Although Noah realized he was truly trapped, the merchant panicked upon recognizing Julia, one of the most famous swordsmen in the kingdom. He grabbed Noah's shoulder, calling him kid, and the young man quickly corrected him, stating his real name. The man immediately changed his attitude and accepted the job on the condition that Julia also join the expedition. Noah was suspicious of the sudden change and realized he truly had personal reasons for taking this mission. The merchant told them to follow him and led them to the deepest part of the shop. They entered a dark room where a purple-haired woman was lying on a bed rest. Osrek approached his beloved wife with empty eyes and began to recount the horrific event that happened a month ago. He revealed that his wife was cursed after being attacked by a giant red-armored monster in the labyrinth. The man explained that the monster's curse caused the victim to fall into a deep sleep until their very last breath. Noah deduced that the best solution was to defeat the monster, but the guide lamented that all adventurers had failed. Osrek knelt down, begging Julia to use her extraordinary power to descend into the labyrinth to save his wife. Julia agreed to help on the condition that Noah also had to actively participate in the fight against the horrific monster. She placed her hand on her younger brother's shoulder, explaining that she wanted to see his combat style in the labyrinth with her own eyes. The young man immediately realized his sister was still suspicious of the true origin of his new combat abilities. With no way back, Noah accepted the condition and told the merchant that they were ready to start the mystical rescue mission. The man was overjoyed, looking very confident and determined, vowing to lead them as safely as possible. The trio gathered in front of the giant library tower, while Julia checked if her other mission was okay. She focused her gaze on Noah and sincerely admitted that she was extremely curious to discover her brother's secret. She recalled their clash, sensing that her younger brother had used a different type of energy than the family's usual dark core. The girl warned that he would have to reveal the truth in the labyrinth, and Noah acknowledged her sharpness in recognizing the difference in power. The merchant appeared with a giant backpack full of supplies and apologized for being late. Noah took the lead and told everyone to depart immediately toward the main gate of the magnificent structure. The group entered the main hall, which was crowded with adventurers and warriors from everywhere. The guide registered the team at the reception desk and warned that the three of them would have to rely on each other a lot inside. The local warriors whispered in pity as they looked at the trio and Osrek, believing they would be the next victims of this place. The man led them to a giant green stone gate, declaring this was the true entrance to the endless library. He pushed the stone structure with significant force to start the dangerous expedition. The gate opened, revealing a powerful and mysterious green energy stream radiating from inside the labyrinth. The trio passed through the mysterious passageway under the guidance of the guide, who remained alert to any signs of danger. The young man observed the vastness of this place with its giant bookshelves, confirming the truly enormous scale of the location. Julia smiled in amazement, remarking that she now fully understood why it was necessary to rely on someone so experienced. The majestic architecture, with floating staircases and complex passageways, seemed to form an endless labyrinth. Noah walked calmly, but suddenly his eyes widened when he saw something truly shocking on the tower wall. He stumbled upon an ancient painting depicting the hero of light facing a horrific invasion of red monsters. The young man was astonished, concluding that there were secrets hidden in this labyrinth that directly related to the world's future. Noah analyzed the mural, focusing on finding any hidden clues that could help him defeat the invaders in the future. Julia gave a confident smile and warned that it was time for them to continue moving deeper into the labyrinth. The young man confirmed the goal, reminding everyone that their current priority was to obtain the legendary Book of the Endless Abyss. Upon reaching the first floor, the guide explained that the rarest and most taboo books were hidden on the deepest floors. Osrek revealed that this relic was banned in the neighboring kingdom and deduced that it was definitely kept around the 20th floor. Noah found it amusing, remembering that this was the deepest floor any adventurer had ever set foot on. The group moved in an organized manner and headed to a large green magic circle drawn in the center of the stone floor. They stood on the mystical magic to prepare to descend to the lower floors of the library. Suddenly, dozens of armored and shielded orcs appeared from thin air, blocking the adventurer's path. The guide explained that these beasts always guarded the entrance to the next floor and asked if the young master could destroy them. Noah calmly reassured him that he would handle this basic threat as he drew his glowing sword from its sheath. The young man lunged forward with terrifying flexibility, unleashing high-speed golden slashes that tore the local monsters to pieces. He sheathed his sword with a quick, stylish motion, demonstrating terrifying skill before the guide's eyes. The bodies of the defeated enemies fell to the mystical library floor, confirming the young warrior's quick victory. Impressed by such ease, Osrek urged the young nobles that they needed to move quickly toward the goal. The group reached the 10th floor, and the guide demanded absolute secrecy regarding the hidden shortcuts. From then on during the expedition, he manipulated a specific book on the shelf to activate the library's secret passage mechanism. A large secret passage opened, revealing a hidden path that very few people knew how to use. The guide pointed to the hidden magic circle, explaining that this mystical tool was an excellent shortcut. They gathered on the mystical magic, which began to glow brilliantly with powerful rhythmic green energy. The magic teleportation activated, and the group was covered by a giant column of light, completing the instantaneous journey. The powerful magic light disappeared suddenly, revealing their appearance in a new, quiet area of the tower. Noah covered his face with his hands because of the dazzling light created by the teleportation process to the new floor. The guide revealed that they had skipped many floors and were now at the transition point from the 19th to the 20th floor. Julia stepped forward with a proud smile, deducing that the next elite monsters were definitely right ahead. They arrived at a giant circular stone pit where a massive green magic ring was glowing fearfully. A giant wave of dark energy poured out from the magic circle, signaling the immediate summoning of the area leader. Dozens of dark, fierce tree branches and roots grew from the ground, spreading a terrifying atmosphere throughout the environment. A giant tree monster with many red eyes appeared, revealing itself to be the fearsome leader of this floor. The guide panicked when he realized this creature had evolved into a much more powerful old lord monster than what he remembered. Osrek screamed in terror, saying that passing this beast required many elite teams. But Julia dismissed his worry with contempt. The young swordswoman laughed sarcastically, asking why the man thought she needed help. She drew her sword with an arrogant stance and assured that her personal power was more than enough. Julia lunged at high speed toward the giant tree monster, unleashing an extremely fast direct attack. The giant monster counterattacked by whipping long, sharp black branches to crush the intruder in one go. The female warrior performed excellent acrobatic dodging moves, slashing off every branch that tried to block her path. She ran along the opponent's roots, quickly closing the distance to try to strike the main tree trunk. Julia unleashed a precise sword strike right into the center of the monster, creating a massive dark energy explosion. The blow created sparks, but only slightly scratched the opponent's hard shell while its red eyes blazed with rage. The young girl landed skillfully and admitted that this mystical creature's natural armor was indeed very durable. Osrek screamed in despair, warning that the wood was as hard as steel, and a lone swordswoman would never defeat it. Suddenly, dozens of wooden tentacles grew from the ground, completely surrounding and tying up the female warrior's feet. Julia was completely controlled by the monster's vines, which began to tighten around her body with extremely fierce force. The old monster tightened its wooden claws, preparing to crush the captured opponent in one go. Worried about the dangerous situation, Noah prepared to intervene and ran toward the fight to save his sister. The branches tightened with maximum force, creating red sparks as they tried to break through Julia's physical resistance. The female warrior remained calm and activated the fifth form of the shadow combat style, releasing red flames. An explosion of fire incinerated the vines, and she appeared in mystical and majestic black flame armor. Noah was completely astonished to witness this powerful and rare elemental defensive technique working right before his eyes. Julia swung her black fire-imbued sword and prepared to counterattack with the first form of the style. The female warrior activated the black flame sword dance technique, channeling all the fire energy into her weapon. The giant tree leader tried to react, swinging its giant branches to crush Julia with extreme brutality. Covered by pure fiery rage, the silver-haired woman lunged decisively toward the opponent's trunk. With fast and explosive slashes, Julia chopped off the wooden tentacles, turning the leader's defensive layer into ashes. She gained momentum in the air and lunged, aiming straight at the opponent's many glowing eyes. The female warrior shouted a resounding war cry as she unleashed a downward strike filled with all her mystical energy. A massive torrent of red flames and darkness was released, tearing through the air and destroying everything in its path throughout the hall. The powerful attack split the central guardian tree in half, triggering an intense steam and smoke explosion. Julia landed majestically and arrogantly, declaring that her fire sword would never be stopped by something as trivial as steel. The guide pointed desperately, screaming a danger warning when he realized the lethal confrontation wasn't completely over. A sneaky tentacle quickly grew from the ground and wrapped tightly around Julia's ankle, taking the female warrior by surprise. Dozens of dark roots emerged from the ground and began to completely cover her body. Julia realized the plant monster regenerated very quickly unless it was completely burned away in one go. She was dragged by the vines and finally imprisoned completely inside a dark cocoon made of vines in the center of the hall. Noah irritably clicked his tongue when he heard his sister summon the third form of the special technique. Inside the wooden cocoon, the young man sensed a looming disaster and grabbed the guide, pulling him out of the danger zone. He ran at full speed, dragging Ozrek along desperately, and shouted for him to run faster before the explosion hit. Inside the wooden cocoon, Julia's eyes flared with a brilliant red, signaling the release of her ace. A massive fiery explosion erupted, shattering the cocoon and sending terrifying shockwaves rippling throughout the area. Thick red smoke choked the main hall, while Noah and Ozrek sprinted at top speed to escape the blast's impact. A wave of fire swept through the entire corridor, throwing both adventurers to the floor of the mysterious labyrinth. Noah stood up, coughing, and deduced that his sister's plan was indeed to burn everything to the ground to prevent the monster from recovering. Amidst the ash and red mist, Julia appeared, standing triumphantly after completely obliterating the leader's existence. She calmly walked toward her companions and asked if they should continue searching for the book. The guide watched the scene in utter disbelief and shock, unable to imagine that she had destroyed that beast all by herself. Noah pondered, remembering that the black flame style was the strongest in terms of raw damage. He recalled that this technique drained energy extremely quickly, but acknowledged its power was the greatest in the world. The trio finally reached the 20th floor, stepping into a new hall filled with giant shelves packed with ancient books. Noah focused his attention on the wooden bookcases and suddenly widened his eyes upon discovering a very familiar work. The young man picked up the book in excitement and cheered, realizing he had finally found the Book of the Abyss. After accomplishing their goal, Julia warned that they now needed to find the mysterious monster that had cursed the guide's wife. Noah asked about its location, and Ozrek explained that this specific opponent often hunted freely on this floor. A metallic sound suddenly rang out in the silence of the corridor, causing the three adventurers to instantly go on high alert. A book fell onto a small tea table, revealing a drawing of a powerful warrior on the page. The young man picked up the mysterious book with suspicion, trying to understand the real secret behind the picture. Suddenly, a voice whispered threateningly that it found him. The pages of the mysterious book began flipping rapidly, creating an eerie atmosphere in the dark corridor. Noah felt an overwhelming source of hostility flare up behind him and reacted with extreme speed to dodge the attack. He and Julia drew their swords and entered a combined defensive stance, standing right in front of the terrified merchant. A terrifying, gray-armored warrior with monster-like limbs emerged from the shadows, revealing itself to be the grand leader of this area. Ozrek pointed an angry finger, identifying the opponent as the demon who had caused his wife such horrific suffering. Noah stepped forward, swinging his sword, determined to begin the battle to destroy the labyrinth's evil monster once and for all. Julia sternly ordered her younger brother to stand back and warned that she would handle this dangerous, ironclad boss herself. She leaped forward, propelled by her own black flames, shouting that she would take the lead in the assault. The ironclad warrior raised its monstrous limb, preparing to unleash an overwhelming counterattack aimed directly at Julia. The two weapons collided violently, creating waves of red fire that illuminated the shelves in the hall. Julia poured all her immense physical strength into holding the direct impact, but she still felt the absurd power of her opponent. A massive shockwave blasted the adventurers backward, demonstrating the terrifying destructive power of this elite enemy. The female warrior landed, sliding across the floor and knocking over many bookcases. Impressed by her opponent's absurd physical strength, she knelt down with difficulty, coughing from the heavy impact, and worriedly concluded that a prolonged battle here would be extremely brutal for them. Julia dodged the danger, leaping at high speed through the giant bookcases in the hall. The female warrior performed acrobatic maneuvers along the walls, gathering red flames on her metal sword. She dove from above toward the gray-armored opponent, unleashing an incredibly powerful vertical slash. The direct collision created a huge red energy explosion, causing the entire structure of the mysterious library to shake. Dust flew everywhere due to the pressure. While Noah and the guide witnessed the epic battle unfolding in the hall, the young man was astonished to realize that the terrifying iron-armored warrior had easily blocked such a fast move. Julia spun mid-air, regaining her fighting stance while the aggressive enemy advanced tirelessly. She landed on the floor, realizing that the enemy's strength far exceeded any ordinary monster, and slammed her hand against the ground, activating an orange magic circle to summon the second form of the dark fighting style. A massive and destructive red vortex of fire appeared beneath the monster's feet, attempting to incinerate it on the spot. The guide thought the fight had ended with this move, but Noah remained tense, realizing the threat was still active. To everyone's astonishment, the iron-armored warrior slashed the fire vortex in half with just its black sword. Using only the power of its black sword, Julia was thrown backward by the enemy's overwhelming counterattack, causing the entire fire vortex to vanish. Taking advantage of the recoil, she jumped straight onto the top of the enemy's armor, screaming that she had caught him. She plunged her burning weapon deep into the opponent's head, seeking to end the battle right there. However, she grimaced in pain when she realized the slash wasn't enough to pierce the enemy's mysterious armor. The monster reacted brutally, unleashing a heavy punch that sent the female warrior flying into a stone wall. Julia quickly regained her posture and cursed under her breath. Damn it. Noah worriedly realized that even the legendary destructive power of the Black Flames had no effect on the opponent. The young man panicked when he saw his sister's attack, not even leaving a scratch on the enemy's armor. The monster's mouth began to glow a brilliant blue, gathering a horrific amount of magic power. Julia looked in horror at her own arm, which had been invaded by a painful and terrifying stream of blue energy. The iron-armored warrior fired a massive beam of destructive blue energy straight at his opponent. At the final moment, Noah lunged forward and hugged his sister tightly, saving her from the terrifying beam. The energy beam caused an absurd explosion, creating a deep groove on the stone floor. The young man stood up and reassured his sister that he would support the battle, but she warned him to be careful of the enemy's contact. Julia explained that any physical contact with that creature would cause a horrific, painful curse on the body. She lamented that due to her injured arm, she would not be able to gather the power needed to subdue the monster. Noah looked at her seriously and made an unusual request, leaving the female warrior confused by her younger brother's attitude. The iron-armored warrior began gathering mysterious blue energy in its mouth, preparing another lethal blow aimed at them. Noah asked his sister to unleash her strongest attack one more time, and Julia thought this suggestion was too cruel because she had nearly died from that move. Julia accepted the plan, and Noah assured her that he would focus on severing the enemy's cursed arm to create an ideal opening. The two heirs lunged forward in parallel, coordinating their movements, combining red flames with powerful electric sparks. Julia performed her dance of fire while the young man activated a hybrid version of the holy magic style. They simultaneously struck the enemy with a terrifying sequence of slashes consisting of golden light and black flames throughout the hall. The clash between opposing forces created a huge multicolored explosion that illuminated the entire 20th floor of the library. A massive column of fire and electricity engulfed the central combat area, spreading destruction across the bookcases. The siblings backed away, sliding smoothly on the floor, maintaining a defensive stance while observing through the smoke. They stood next to each other, alert and anxiously waiting to see if their combined move was effective. However, the terrifying iron-armored warrior roared ferociously, emerging from the flames completely unharmed and wrathfully continuing the battle. Both were shocked by the monster's absurd resistance as it lunged forward to unleash a new attack. The enemy launched a vertical slash, but the siblings blocked the strike with their weapons with extreme precision. Julia jumped acrobatically, trying to find a weak point in the opponent's armor. In the frantic exchange, the enemy defended skillfully, pushing back their attacks with a large shield and forcing the pair to retreat deep into the hall. Noah blocked a heavy blow, feeling the full physical pressure and pouring all his strength into avoiding being crushed. Realizing her younger brother was about to be crushed by the enemy, Julia shouted desperately for him to dodge. She gathered her final reserves and activated the second form of the Black Flame style to protect her comrade. A giant golden spear of fire aimed straight at the enemy, minimizing the impact of the monster's destructive move. The grand gray-armored leader remained unfazed and continued to gather blue magic in its mouth, preparing another lethal strike. Julia screamed Noah's name in desperation when she realized the enemy's lethal beam was aimed straight at the young man. Noah prepared the holy magic style, focusing an immense amount of energy into his sword. With absolute focus, the young master activated the twin polar blade technique, unleashing his full offensive potential. A massive light collision struck the gray-armored monster, creating a huge explosion in the stone hall. Noah gasped and felt exhausted, sensing the horrific physical toll the strike had taken on his new body. The young man had struck the opponent right in the head, causing mysterious energy to pierce the enemy's helmet. The monster resisted and counterattacked with extreme brutality, forcing the young hero to try to defend at any cost. Noah realized the danger of the situation and gritted his teeth as he saw himself about to be completely overwhelmed. Suddenly, a massive red vortex of fire appeared in the opening, trying to restrain the enemy's momentum. Julia warned that she had used up her final energy to save her brother's life and settle her debt to him. The young man worriedly realized that even his strongest move had failed and his sister's core was completely drained. Facing the enemy's horrific resistance, Noah wondered if the only viable option left was to retreat from the battle. The giant, gray-armored monster continued to advance majestically toward the two siblings, who were now barely able to fight. Noah looked into the distance in a panic, wondering if they would truly have to face yet another monster in this place. Suddenly, a mysterious voice spoke up, criticizing the lack of sophistication and the technical flaws in his hybrid strike. The young man went completely silent, trying to identify the true source of that strange and powerful spiritual aura. A brilliant golden light began to appear in the air. When the voice explained that Noah's energy was chaotic and unbalanced, the young master drew his sword and demanded to know who was speaking and what mysterious place he had just entered. The voice revealed that he was the inheritor of the Holy Spirit core and advised the hero to end the dangerous battle with a single strike. Meanwhile, in the real world, the terrifying monster raised its giant black sword, preparing to unleash a finishing blow aimed at Noah. Seeing his brother standing still and motionless, Julia screamed in desperation, asking him what he intended to do at this moment. Suddenly, a blue system window appeared, confirming the awakening of the inheritor and unlocking the hero's Holy Spirit core. Noah gripped his sword hilt tightly while channeling the second form of the powerful new holy light technique. A massive column of golden energy enveloped the young man's body, completely illuminating the dark landscape of the labyrinth. His eyes flashed brilliantly as the hero activated a move capable of tearing the sky with his new light energy. A terrifying golden chain of slashes cut across the air at extreme speed, creating a spectacle of power in the hall. The brilliant light attacks struck the gray-armored monster's armor, causing it to begin cracking under the divine power. He smiled, realizing this was the true and hidden power of the holy magic core. Noah stood in an imposing stance and warned the enemy that he now intended to pay back double all the pain they had suffered. The hero lunged at the monster, gathering pure golden electric blades around his metal sword. A new system window activated, indicating that the leader challenge had been officially accepted by the young warrior. Noah was suddenly transported to a vast white space where his golden flame sword was glowing brilliant. A sound echoed, deducing that he had indeed inherited the entire legendary primordial Holy Spirit core. A giant golden figure began to appear before him, radiating a pure divine aura and ultimate power. A majestic, handsome knight with long blonde hair and golden armor appeared before the astonished young master. The hero asked who he was, and the entity introduced himself as Ziku's Valmouth, the bearer of the primordial Holy Spirit core. The knight explained that the holy core and magic core that Noah had just learned about were actually just flawed byproducts. He recounted that during the era of the gods, invaders from another world appeared, and the Holy Spirit core was created to fight them. Ziku's lamented that after a long war, humanity ultimately failed due to internal conflicts caused by humans themselves. He revealed that other factions feared the overwhelming power of the Holy Spirit core and decided to destroy all who bore it. To prevent this power from being reborn, the primordial force was split, giving birth to the magic core and the holy core. Noah understood that the two original energy flows were one, and Ziku's confirmed that was the reason he could inherit the Holy Spirit core. The young man asked if humanity could have defeated the invaders in the past if they hadn't betrayed each other. With a serious gaze, the ancient warrior assured that they would have easily wiped out the entire enemy force. Noah clenched his fist with determination, thinking that with this legendary power, he could finally change the world's tragic fate. Ziku's warned that at the young man's current core level, that was impossible, and he needed to defeat the enemy to evolve. The young master wore a confident and arrogant smile, showing that he was completely ready to accept the challenge. The ancient hero smiled in return and decided to start training Noah with a relatively simple task. Ziku's ordered the young master to prove his worth by first destroying the insignificant enemy in front of him in the real world. Returning to reality, Noah released a massive amount of golden fire that covered the hall at high speed. The young man moved forward with determination and clashed his holy sword directly against the sharp claws of his powerful opponent. With a focused gaze, the hero assured that this time he would sever the monster's arm once and for all. The two warriors collided again in the center of the hall. While books flew chaotically in the wind, Noah used the golden blades of mysterious energy to block and restrain the enemy's giant arm. The system revealed that the divine technique controlled 6 blades of light used for both attack and defense. Using the terrifying speed of his new ability, the young man severed the gray-armored monster's arm. Osrek witnessed everything, completely shocked to realize the young master had used light itself to slash the beast. The opponent's arm fell onto the stone floor, while a purple-gold aura continued to radiate from the young hero's body. Without hesitation, Noah lunged forward and drove a deep thrust straight into the iron-armored warrior's chest. The young man smiled faintly and sarcastically said that the situation had finally turned in their favor in this battle. A massive explosion of golden energy pierced the opponent's armor, illuminating the entire library area. The monster roared violently in extreme pain as it felt the purifying power burning its body. With a final vertical slash, Noah defeated the terrifying enemy and celebrated the fall of his first major foe. The body of the terrifying gray-armored warrior collapsed onto the library floor, completely destroyed and lifeless. The hero breathed deeply, observing the result of the confrontation while trying to calm the flow of mysterious energy. Suddenly, a final and dangerous wave of blue energy appeared at that location, immediately drawing the young master's attention. Julia realized the danger was approaching and desperately shouted for her younger brother to dodge the surprise attack. A massive beam of blue energy fired straight at the hero, who was caught off guard on the ground. Noah reacted quickly and activated the shield of his light sword technique to try and contain the impact of the blue beam. The golden shield collided with the powerful energy stream. The collision between the two mysterious forces triggered a massive explosion, destroying the remaining bookcases in the area. The smoke slowly cleared, revealing the damage caused by the final desperate attack. To everyone's relief, Noah stood up completely unharmed amidst the dust, demonstrating his mysterious defensive power. Julia witnessed the scene in absolute astonishment, unable to understand how he had escaped the strike without a scratch. Noah raised his glowing sword and warned that he would finish the monster off once and for all with his energy. The young man unleashed his final brilliant attack, and the monster took the full force of that destructive energy stream. The beast's armor crumbled under the massive amount of energy from the young inheritor's divine technique. The collision dispelled the evil aura, and the ironclad warrior collapsed, completely destroyed. Amidst the ash, a system window appeared, confirming his victory and announcing that his holy core level had increased to level 2. The young man read the congratulatory message from Ziku's and was surprised to realize the ancient hero was still continuing to guide him. The system warned that the holy core develops through combat and advised Noah to make good use of his new mysterious power. Noah clenched his fist thoughtfully, realizing that combat was the key to evolution, and he celebrated obtaining his new technique. Still trembling, Osrek ran to the young master, asking in disbelief if he had truly defeated the monster. Julia approached and confirmed the enemy had vanished, noting that the horrific curse had also begun to fade from this place. The young girl looked at her arm with relief, noticing the black poison patches had completely disappeared from her skin. Julia told the man that his wife had likely also been cured, and Osrek wept with happiness, suggesting they should return immediately. Walking up to her younger brother, Julia commented with surprise that he looked completely different from the weak warrior before the trial. She stared at the young master with a serious gaze and directly asked where he had learned such an amazing swordsmanship. Seeing him remain silent, she deduced that he couldn't speak of it and explained that there were many different styles of using cores. She detailed that the magic sword style was the fundamental foundation for all warriors of the Dazkul lineage. She mentioned the black flame style, which focused entirely on maximizing the user's physical attack power. The young girl also mentioned the black thunder style, with its main focus on extreme speed and attacks. Julia concluded by mentioning the abyss style, a mysterious technique specializing in deception and disorienting opponents. She pointed out that Noah's style didn't belong to any of those schools and asked her brother what he was hiding from everyone. The siblings exchanged a deep, silent look, creating an atmosphere of mystery and mutual suspicion. Julia skipped pressing Noah further, wore a faint smile, and decided to put her suspicions aside for the moment. She left, saying that she was looking forward to the day they would test each other's black cores in a real battle. The scene shifted to the Grand Estate. On the way back with Kyle, the hero carried the endless book of the Abyss, which he intended to trade for information from Eve. Upon arriving at the young informant lady's room, Noah opened the door and found the place completely ransacked and destroyed. Keyes appeared in a rage and reported that he had made a mistake by leaving the estate. When young Eve was kidnapped, the blonde warrior revealed that the person responsible for the incident was their brother, Skull, who was seeking secret data about Noah. Keyes explained that Skull had likely kidnapped Eve to force her to reveal all the information she possessed. Noah smiled faintly as he realized and confirmed that the villainous Skull was indeed the true mastermind behind the attackers. The young man decided they would save the informant, but the bodyguard panicked, realizing he wanted to challenge Lord Skull. Noah wore a mysterious smile and told his ally not to compare their confrontation to a dispute between equals. With a cold gaze, the hero assured that what was about to begin would be nothing more than a one-sided and ruthless revenge. Feeling guilty, Keyes said he would go along to fix his mistake, surprising the soldiers with his support. The guard suggested waiting for reinforcements, but Noah countered that there was no time to gather more soldiers. Gripping his weapon tightly, the young man declared that the Doskull family sword would not break just because they were outnumbered. The soldier accepted the order, and Noah requested that he ensure absolute security for the estate while they were away. Displaying deep loyalty, the man assured him with determination that he would protect his master's home no matter what happened. With the plan set, the young master took the lead and ordered an immediate attack on the traitor Skull's base. Noah and Keyes mounted their horses and galloped off at high speed, racing along the dirt road leading to the rescue site. Keyes hoped Eve was still safe, but commented confidently that she was strong enough not to be easily subdued. Noah recognized his great confidence and curiously asked why the blonde brother had decided to become her bodyguard. Keyes revealed that his own black core was always considered the weakest among all the family's inheritors. He confessed that his strength was inferior to his brother's, putting him at a major disadvantage in the family's power struggle. The young man explained that to compensate for this weakness, he had sought to learn new combat tactics and master swordsmanship. Noah finally understood the situation, realizing that was why he couldn't predict his brother's attacks. Keyes assured him with determination that he would continue to fight to become stronger and would protect Eve at all costs. The two inheritors finally arrived at the estate gate, and Noah warned that they needed to locate Eve first. They dismounted, and the young master seriously warned that they would show no mercy to any enemies in their path. Noah channeled powerful, mysterious energy around his legs, preparing to demonstrate his strength with an extremely violent move. The young man delivered a devastating kick to the giant metal gate of the estate. The heavy iron gate was completely destroyed and collapsed. The brothers rushed into the area at high speed, sliding into the courtyard with swords drawn, ready to fight. They were immediately surrounded by a large number of masked soldiers who had been waiting for Noah's arrival. Keyes quickly recognized the group of enemies and told the young man that this was Skull's elite mercenary unit. The masked warriors surrounded the brothers, and when the blonde brother warned that these mercenaries were extremely skilled in battle, their captain laughed at the situation, mocking the two fools who dared to attack head-on like that. Noah activated his purple battle aura and coldly warned that he didn't have time for the underlings, ordering them to bring Skull out. The mercenary captain was extremely irritated by Noah's arrogance, telling the young man that he didn't understand the situation. A mercenary suddenly appeared behind the hero, attempting to launch a surprise sword attack on Noah. Without needing to look back, the young man spun at the last millisecond and easily blocked the enemy's attack. Noah counterattacked, kicking the masked man away with extreme, brutal force. The captain drew his giant white sword and swore they would show no mercy to anyone who dared challenge Skull. The young master slid across the courtyard grass, channeling electricity around his holy sword. Noah collided head-on with the mercenary captain's sword, creating a massive explosion of sparks in the courtyard. While Noah confronted the commander, Keyes was held back by the rest of the mercenaries on the battlefield. He leaped into the air to dodge an attack. He summoned the Black Thunder Slash, pouring a massive amount of electrical power into his sword. A massive beam of blue electrical energy tore through the grass, striking his opponents with destructive power. Skull's masked soldiers were electrocuted and blown backward by the relentless impact of Keyes' powerful magic. Standing amidst the defeated enemies, the blonde young man radiated an electrical aura and challenged any other enemy who dared to engage. Noah observed the scene from the corner of his eye and felt relieved knowing he could entrust that side to Keys. The mercenary captain tried to take advantage of the moment of distraction and lunged forward, shouting for the hero not to underestimate. He quickly threw a scroll high into the battlefield sky. The scroll began to glow brilliantly with red flames, activating a massive summoning spell in midair. The young man looked down at the ground and panicked as he realized the appearance of a massive, terrifying red seal. The enemy captain revealed that it was a powerful sealing technique developed specifically to counter their family. He lunged at the young master, launching an attack filled with thick, dangerous purple demonic smoke. Noah focused to the maximum, his eyes flashing purple as he tried to read his opponent's next move. The system revealed the opponent's name was Vault Grave, a formidable warrior possessing dangerous hidden defensive techniques. Noah quickly began summoning the second form of his powerful divine fighting style. However, the young man suddenly felt a horrific physical resistance. As he tried to channel core power into his sword, he groaned in pain and irritation, realizing his mysterious energy was being mysteriously sealed. Vault Grave took advantage of the opening and unleashed a cross slash that forced Noah to jump back. Noah realized with horror that his opponent's secret technique had completely sealed his black core. The villain mocked the situation, warning the young man not to think he could defeat them with simple swordsmanship alone. Keys ran to Noah's side in the center of the red magic circle, ready to support his brother in the battle. The blond young man analyzed the tactical situation and worriedly pointed out that they were at a serious numerical disadvantage in this courtyard. He lamented the existence of such annoying and frustrating magic capable of sealing their dark energy. Keys ordered Noah to head off to save Eve while he took responsibility for holding the enemies back alone. The blond young man told his younger brother not to worry and ordered him to quickly finish Skull to take the lady to safety. Noah accepted Key's request with a look of extreme seriousness, placing full trust in his brother's abilities. The young master dodged the first enemy's attacks and ran at high speed toward the interior of the estate. He dashed through like a blur among the massed soldiers, advancing without looking back. Seeing this, Key smiled confidently and warned that even if his core was sealed, he could still use powerful earth magic. He activated the stone path magic, creating a giant stone pillar that surged forward, destroying the courtyard scenery. The stone column pushed the hero straight toward the estate. Key shouted, telling his ally to search the annex, as it was the most suspicious area in the compound. Vault Grave recognized the move and desperately ordered his henchmen to pursue Noah at all costs through the hallway. However, Keys summoned dozens of sharp stone stakes that rose from the ground, pinning the enemies trying to rush forward. The mercenary captain clicked his tongue in frustration, seeing his elite unit restrained so easily. He looked on in fury as his men were pinned to giant stone spears covering the entire lawn. Vault Grave focused his cold gaze on Keys, realizing he needed to defeat the blonde youth if he wanted to continue the pursuit. Keys pointed his sword at the mercenary captain and challenged him to focus on a real battle with him immediately. Meanwhile, inside the estate, Skull was interrogating Eve and demanding to know the secret behind Noah's new power. Tied to a wooden chair, the young woman calmly replied that his questions would be forever futile and stupid. Skull laughed barbarically and pointed at the captured maids, asking if she truly didn't care about their fate. Eve responded with utter contempt, saying that having a cowardly, useless younger brother was an unbearable humiliation, which enraged Skull. But he was interrupted when he heard the deafening noise of battle from the courtyard outside. Eve smiled, deducing that Noah had finally arrived, and Skull mocked his younger brother for daring to attack head-on like that. The villain focused his hate-filled blue eyes, showing he was not afraid of the youngest Dazkul heir's advance. Eve proudly commented that such cowardly methods didn't suit Noah because he possessed the most important thing in the world. Eve laughed sarcastically, declaring that she could finally test the young man's true combat power for herself. Irritated by the hostage's arrogance, the red-haired man drew his metal sword, promising to make this haughty woman pay. Suddenly, the door was destroyed, and Noah charged into the room majestically. The young man entered a defensive stance and calmly declare that he had come to this dangerous den only to save his sister. Noah raised his light-image sword, staring at Skull's silhouette in the center of the luxurious wooden hall. With a familiar, calm, and sarcastic tone, Eve smiled at her younger brother and remarked that he was a bit late. Skull pointed his silver sword straight at Noah's chest and roared his brother's name with deep hatred. Noah smirked, asking if he wanted to end this. The red-haired man scoffed and challenged the young man, asking if he truly believed he had the ability to defeat him in battle. Skull completely lost control and lunged aggressively, unleashing an attack filled with dense purple demonic energy. The brothers exchanged fast, precise sword strikes in the middle of the hall, while bookshelves and books fell scattered all around. The impact of the massive battle was so great that they continued to exchange terrifying sword strikes in midair while falling from the top of the palace at high speed. The window glass shattered, knocking both inheritors out into the courtyard. The two warriors landed skillfully on the courtyard grass and quickly backed away to catch their fighting breath. Noah activated his mystical appraisal skill to analyze in detail his red-haired brother's true potential and power level. The system revealed that Skull possessed impressive attributes, and that he was the founder of the dangerous Abyss fighting style. The young man calmly asked what Skull's true motivation was for sending mercenaries and even using children to harm him. The red-haired man wore a mocking smile and answered bluntly that the reason for his actions was far too obvious. It was simply that he found the protagonist an eyesore. Consumed by rage, the villain lunged, unleashing an extremely violent vertical slash covered in purple magic power. The two swords collided powerfully, creating a massive explosion and pushing Skull back. Noah felt relieved when he realized his core seal had been lifted as soon as he left the mercenary captain's magic range. Skull attacked frantically, roaring that he could not accept a weak piece of trash like Noah receiving the family head's recognition. The young man raised his holy sword, blocking his opponent's relentless, frantic attack sequence. The red-haired man roared with a crazed look, demanding his younger brother fall right there in this family duel. Noah dodged with a perfect acrobatic move, leaping over his opponent's head and avoiding Skull's lethal horizontal slash. He landed with agile steps, creating a safe distance from his enemy to plan. The young master analyzed his brother's attacks, realizing he blended fake and real strikes to disrupt his defense. Skull warned that Noah was nothing more than a stepping stone for his victory and began channeling a massive amount of purple smoke. The villain prepared and began summoning the third form of the horrific Abyss style to destroy the young man. He summoned the Night Marching Ghost Army, creating a giant army of white-boned warriors in the courtyard. The white-boned monsters lunged aggressively at Noah, but he swung his sword and shattered them all. The young man entered a stance and began to wonder if this army of skeletons was just a decoy. A skeleton leaped forward, unleashing a downward slash with its old sword toward the young master's head. The hero instantly recognized the attack. He raised his weapon and blocked the bone monster's metal sword. Noah curiously realized these creatures were not mere illusions, but magic summons with real physical mass. Seeing more monsters rushing in, the hero decided he needed to clear the battlefield quickly. Noah performed a spectacular jump, dodging the encirclement on the ground and channeling light energy into his powerful sword. Mid-air, the young man began summoning the second form of his divine technique, focusing all his power into one point. The warrior activated the Twin Heaven Slash move, releasing a massive destructive explosion of golden light. The golden slashes covered the entire lawn, instantly severing and destroying dozens of white-boned warriors. Noah landed on the stone floor as the smoke from the divine technique began to clear from the area. The young man lamented the annoyance, noticing that the undead were starting to regenerate and rise from the ground once again. He activated his hybrid aura, focusing purple-gold electricity around his fighting boots. Noah dashed like lightning through the middle of the army, cutting down each opponent with precise, high-speed slashes. The young man ignored the skeletons and lunged straight at Skull, launching a surprise attack focused on his red-haired brother. Skull blocked the strike and roared in anger, asking the hero if he truly believed he could defeat his entire army. They exchanged fast slashes. While Noah was struggling with Skull, many skeletons attempted to attack the young man from behind, but he tracked their presence extremely easily in the courtyard. With a perfect sword rotation, the hero unleashed an omnidirectional attack, crushing all the white-boned intruders. Noah clashed swords powerfully with Skull, creating a large collision of purple and gold energy between them. The young man pressed forward, warning his brother that he didn't care about the amount of trash sent his way. He repeated his agile movements, unleashing more golden light blades to tear the surrounding skeletons to pieces. Skull was blown back by the shockwave and collapsed to the ground, moaning in pure pain and extreme physical exhaustion. The two enemies looked at each other, gasping for breath from a distance in a courtyard that had been completely ravaged by explosions of power. The red-haired man drove his sword deep into the ground, channeling all his dark energy directly into the earth. Terrifying purple cracks tore through the ground, creating spikes that surged from the earth and lunged toward the hero. Noah was startled by the speed of the earth attack and quickly changed positions to avoid being hit. Suddenly, a giant bone dragon appeared, shattering the ground under the command of the furious Skull. Skull pointed his sword in a fit of rage and ordered the monster to attack and tear the hero apart. Noah observed the giant bone dragon while a powerful surge of energy began to well up around him. Wearing a confident smile, the young man decided it was time to test his new mystical ability. A system window revealed that his holy core had leveled up and unlocked a rare eye technique. The young hero entered a stance and prepared to activate the fifth form of his divine fighting style. His eyes flashed brilliantly as he activated the special ability to control divine images. Noah lunged toward the giant monster. The young man hovered in midair above the dragon, focusing on his next combat move. He dove like lightning toward the enemy, radiating a purple and gold aura. The hero focused his brilliant gaze straight into the bone dragon's terrifying golden eyes. Noah landed precisely on the monster's head. The young man stood firmly on the beast's head, leaving Skull completely shocked at the monstrous sight. Not understanding, the villain roared in desperation, demanding the monster destroy the hero immediately. Noah explained that his eye technique had decoded the enemy's movements and gained absolute control. He declared that the monster was now his slave, and the red-haired man cursed in frustration, telling him not to play games. Skull, in a fit of rage, decided to attack himself, preparing the first form of the Abyss style. The villain fired a powerful dark bullet that pierced through the dragon. A massive destructive explosion of dark energy occurred, destroying the surroundings of the estate. At the same time, the protagonist had circled behind it. Skull was struck by a slash in the back and spat blood, forced to jump away hurriedly to keep his distance. Severely wounded, the villain admitted he had no choice but to resort to his final measure. He drew a small metal flute and began to play, releasing black smoke all around him. A giant dark portal surrounded by blue lightning opened in midair, leaving the young man curious about the magic. Young Eve appeared, walking through the magical passage, escorted by two dangerous masked soldiers. Skull wore a cunning smile and asked his younger brother if he truly thought he could save her. A mercenary placed his sword to Eve's throat, creating an extremely tense hostage situation. Noah was extremely enraged and called his brother a coward, seeing his sister's life in serious danger. The villain assured him that he would release the hostage only after destroying the hero. Noah gritted his teeth in irritation, trying to find a way to resolve the situation without Eve getting hurt. Suddenly, a giant red beam of light descended from above, shattering the ground between the two brothers. Skull backed away, panicked by the power of the explosion, not understanding who dared to intervene here. The majestic heir Damien appeared, in heavy armor and a shield, standing right in front of Eve. Skull panicked upon recognizing his older brother, and Noah observed the appearance of the powerful ally. Damien sternly warned that Eve had declared neutrality, and the rules of the competition forbade attacking her. The red-haired man angrily retorted, trying to justify his desperate actions to win the succession. With flashing red eyes, Damien assured him that he would destroy Skull for violating family rules. The villain collapsed to the ground, cursing in his rage as he realized his plan had completely failed. His older brother focused his sharp gaze and warned the red-haired man not to pull any stupid tricks here. He reminded everyone that this was a fight to the death, focused only on taking the opponent's core. Noah firmly assured that he would not allow anyone to obstruct his path to victory. Damien pointed out that interfering in the competition was also a crime, and he would decide the result of this battle. He ordered Noah and Skull to fight with all their might while he would observe the results as a referee. The young master drew his sword once again and invited his red-haired brother to continue the match in the courtyard. He sarcastically asked if his opponent could fight without having to resort to hostages and children. Skull completely lost his mind, realizing everyone continued to mock his abilities. Skull focused and decided to summon the 7th form of the dangerous Abyss style. In the courtyard, he activated the Shadow Cloak technique, covering his entire body in dense purple smoke. The red-haired man lunged forward in a fit of rage, promising that this time he would slash the hero into 1,000 pieces without mercy. Noah realized his opponent's style focused on disrupting the enemy's mind and perception. The young man concluded that forcing an attack without giving an opening was the best tactic to win. The two inheritors collided violently in the center of the courtyard, creating electric sparks and strong winds. Skull summoned dark, phantasmal clones to attack from all sides, aiming to disrupt the young man's defense. Noah reacted instantly, activating the Twin Heaven Slash technique with a powerful golden aura. A massive explosion of light and purple energy expanded, annihilating the opponent's clones. Noah was struck with extreme astonishment when he realized his older brother had blocked his strongest divine attack, not giving the hero any time to breathe. The red-haired man prepared the 4th form of his terrifying Abyss style. He summoned the Invisible Slash, with red and black flames radiating across his blade. Skull unleashed a secret attack, tearing through the defenses of Noah, who was trying to protect himself from the lethal collision. The young master poured his tremendous physical strength into blocking the blow, pressing hard against the blade of light. Noah received a shallow cut on his cheek and realized this enhanced strike was impossible to defend against. The young man was thrown backward after trying to regain his balance on the ground. Skull advanced aggressively, roaring that the hero would not be able to escape his relentless attacks. They exchanged new, rapid strikes, creating a spectacle of gold and purple light across the battlefield. Noah groaned in exhaustion under the heavy pressure from Skull, who continued to press forward relentlessly. The red-haired man was frustrated when he realized his younger brother had miraculously avoided a fatal wound. Noah stood his ground, raising his sword to restrain his opponent's terrifying chain of attacks. Massive pillars of golden light erupted from the ground, shattering the stone courtyard with extreme power. Skull leaped skillfully to escape the massive shockwave that swept across the entire combat area. Noah realized that his opponent's phantasmal swordsmanship and powerful defensive capabilities were his greatest strengths. Noah asked why someone as talented as him had to resort to cowardly methods in the clan competition. Skull roared that he had been abandoned by their father, as he thought his phantasmal talent was useless to the clan. The villain explained that resentment had driven him to create the Abyss style to prove his true worth. Skull recalled with bitterness the day the clan completely ignored him, disregarding his efforts. Consumed by hatred, the red-haired man promised that his only remaining option was to win at any cost. With his face covered in blood, he swore to make their father recognize his strength through this battle. The villain said he did not mind getting his hands dirty with evil acts. When a massive red pillar rose, Skull ordered an end to the conversation and commanded the young man to become fuel for his great victory. In the struggle, the red-haired man prepared to summon the 9th form of the Abyss style. Releasing massive energy, he summoned the Black Dragon Destruction, creating a giant red fire beast in mid-air. The giant red fire beast hovered in the cloudy sky, spreading terror across the area. The red fire dragon dove at high speed straight toward Noah's position on the ground. An absurd explosion occurred in the center of the courtyard, destroying walls and floors with extreme power. Noah managed to protect himself by creating a golden light shield to contain the massive explosion. The young man appeared standing firmly amidst the golden sparks. Keeping his sword ready for the final confrontation, the giant red and black fire dragon hovered right behind Skull, displaying terrifying power. Noah realized his black core had reached a critical energy limit and was beginning to overload. Skull laughed loudly, saying his younger brother had no chance of winning by relying only on ordinary abilities. Without hesitation, the young man reached into his shirt, looking for a secret trump card. The red-haired man's eyes widened in extreme shock as he realized the mysterious item Noah was holding. The young man revealed that he had condensed his own accumulated toxins to use as a strength stimulant. Noah placed the stabilized poison pill into his mouth, swallowing the dangerous item without a second's hesitation. Skull shouted in horror, asking if the young man was crazy to swallow something that could cause him to lose control. Consumed by rage, the hero began to release a terrifying amount of gold and purple energy through all his wounds. Noah smiled, saying the toxins would serve as the perfect fuel to restore his strength. A system window appeared confirming his divine core had reached level 20 and unlocked a new move. Noah remembered his past life as Xenon and vowed never to let history repeat itself in this life. He accumulated energy in his blade and decided to summon the second form of the powerful holy style. The hero activated Radiant Light Image, releasing a massive amount of electrochemical energy. He performed a downward slash while Skull's terrifying red fire dragon lunged aggressively. The two massive moves collided in the courtyard, and Noah's attack split the fire dragon in two. The massive collision created a violent mixed energy explosion that completely destroyed the scenery. A terrifying shockwave sent both warriors flying backward into the ruined courtyard. A massive dome of destructive energy spread out between the gaps, glowing with high intensity. A massive cloud of dust and debris was kicked into the sky by the absurd power of the strike. Damien acted quickly and used a giant metal shield to protect his younger sister from the powerful shockwave. And a massive mushroom cloud rising over the estate, marking the end of the giant confrontation. The brother waited for the smoke to clear, revealing a courtyard completely devastated by the collision. Damien and Eve observed the situation in awe, not knowing who had survived the explosion. The wind blew away the smoke, revealing a defeated Skull kneeling, while the young master stood firm. Noah pointed his blade at his opponent's throat and calmly revealed that he did not want to take his life. The hero ordered the traitor to surrender, but the red-haired man only lowered his head in absolute silence. Skull pretended to accept defeat, promising to hand over his black core, and Noah calmly accepted the deal. Suddenly, Noah's battle intuition screamed a warning as he realized his brother's cunning expression. Before the young man could react, the villain's silver sword pierced his abdomen in a fit of rage. Skull wore a completely insane grin, laughing loudly for having tricked the hero. The villain poured more force into the hilt, pushing the blood-stained blade deeper into Noah's chest. Damien and Eve witnessed the cowardly, treacherous attack in horror. Surprised by the red-haired brother's cowardly attitude, Skull roared madly, declaring that he would never accept defeat or kneel before someone like him. He pulled the sword out violently, screaming that no one was allowed to stand above his strength. Noah coughed violently and collapsed onto the stone floor while clutching his severe abdominal wound. Desperate at the young man's dire condition, young Eve ran toward him, shouting his name. Damien seriously grabbed the young girl's arm to prevent her from interfering in the ongoing fight. Skull raised his metal sword, aggressively guaranteeing that the fight and Noah's journey would end right here. However, Noah unleashed a final slash that quickly cut through the air, creating a large gash on his chest. Skull was hit directly by the desperate counterattack and fell backward, completely defeated. The red-haired villain lay motionless on the grass after taking Noah's final blow. Silence returned to the estate courtyard while both warriors lay on the stone base. Noah sadly realized that his new clan preferred to sacrifice their own lives in the name of pride. The image shows both warriors lying down, representing the terrible price of the competition. Eve struggled to break free from Damien and ran desperately, kneeling beside the young man's wounded body. Damien warned that the wound was very serious, but she declared she would use secret magic to heal her younger brother. The young girl focused to her maximum, releasing a thick, brilliant blue mist over the young man. She placed both hands on his chest and activated the first form of the dark flower style. The dark lantern spell spread through Noah's body, starting to regenerate his internal tissues. The mystical blue energy flowed rapidly through the energy meridians in Noah's arm, soothing the pain. Noah woke up after a day. The young girl explained with relief that she could control his core very well. The young man smiled faintly and sincerely thanked his sister for saving his life there. Eve pointed at Skull's body lying there and declared that the reward for the victory now belonged to Noah. Skull's red-black core hovered in midair, emitting a large amount of dark energy. Noah focused his attention on the glowing orb. Realizing this was an opportunity to become stronger, the hero knelt before the defeated opponent's body under the calm, observant gaze of Sister Eve. He extended his right hand toward the core, absorbing his opponent's thick red energy. Noah felt a massive surge of golden and purple electrical energy running through his new body. With his purple eyes flashing, the young man looked at the system board, confirming the fusion with a new core. The system window showed his black core had increased from 2 stars to 5 stars of strength. Noah was surprised to discover his dark energy had progressed equivalent to many years of physical training. The young man observed his surroundings, satisfied to realize the dangerous situation had been resolved. The golden-haired brother, Keys, approached the location, walking calmly after the battle had ended. Keys surprisingly admitted that he had never imagined his younger brother would have the ability to defeat the dangerous Skull. He asked if Eve was okay, and the young girl confirmed, saying that Damien had saved her at the most critical moment. Keys was impressed while Damien stood with his arms crossed, saying he was only enforcing the clan law. The young man prepared to leave, placing his giant metal shield on his back. Damien walked past the young man, giving a serious and evaluative look at the victorious heir, while the other brothers watched the allies' departure with worried and tense expressions. Damien curiously thought about Noah's mysterious power, which seemed to go far beyond an ordinary core. Suddenly, a white-haired subordinate approached the group, interrupting their thoughts. The palace servant formally announced that the powerful family head Victor was summoning Noah. The scene shifted, revealing the majestic architecture of the great citadel, where the fearsome head of the clan resided. In the office, Victor commented that he had heard about Noah seizing the black core of the defeated Skull. The powerful family head glanced at the young master with eyes as sharp as knives, demanding confirmation of the truth. Noah maintained an elegant posture and answered directly, confirming that he had won the battle. Victor asked about Skull's strength, and Noah sincerely admitted that his brother was superior to him in every aspect. Curious, the family head asked why the young man believed he could win the succession competition. Noah felt the terrifying mental pressure from his father and concentrated to give the best possible answer. He firmly declared that his thirst for power was greater than any other opponent's. Victor smiled faintly in satisfaction, considering it an excellent answer from a warrior. The family head warned that the dead man had committed unforgivable sins and swore to reward the young man. Noah seized the opportunity and requested that the reward be to be sent on a mission to a very specific location. His father was surprised at his son's lack of greed, pointing out that he could have asked for weapons or gold. The young man replied that the benefits gained from this trip would be greater than any treasure. Satisfied with his son's focus, Victor accepted the condition and asked what destination he desired. The scene shifted as a horse carriage crossed a narrow and dangerous dirt road between misty mountains. Inside the carriage, Noah explained to the 2 maids that this trip was not for sightseeing. The young man wore a calm smile and asked them to handle everything related to his work. The 2 maids happily agreed, promising to try their best to support him in the mission. Suddenly, Lydia's eyes widened when she saw a majestic and impressive sight through the window. The maid waved excitedly, pointing toward the horizon and announcing that their destination had appeared. Noah observed the legendary city built through an ancient alliance between dragons and humans. That was the legendary Draconia, a great city surrounded by giant mountain peaks and winged beasts in the sky. Not long after moving, they were stopped by 2 soldiers, forcing the carriage to make an emergency stop. When stepping out of the carriage, the young man was greeted by the guards, who asked if he was the heir of the Dazkul house. The scaled warriors formally introduced themselves as official envoys of Draconia. The guards offered to lead the group from there along the mountain stone path. Noah focused his purple eyes as he sensed a strange and hostile change in the energy around them. The young man stared toward the mountain range, realizing something dangerous was approaching. Noah smiled faintly, thanking the local envoys for the important support they provided. Suddenly, red ogre monsters leaped down from the hillside, screaming that they had identified the target from the Dazkul clan. A monster slammed down onto the ground, creating a thick screen of dust on the road. A pack of sharp-horned ogres completely surrounded the young master's carriage on the spot. The scaled guards panicked and drew their weapons, demanding that Noah step back to protect himself. The ogre tribe is a warrior race specialized in fighting to compete for control of this mountainous region. They value raw strength in conflict. While the lizard men respected order and laws, the commander explained that the beasts were trying to hinder the mission, and Noah assured them he fully understood the danger. The hero ordered Lydia and Selena to immediately get inside the carriage to ensure safety before attacking. The ogres mocked the young man's appearance, claiming that Draconia had truly declined to send such a weak child. The giant ogre leader mocked Noah, telling him to turn back if he wanted to live. The hero only wore an ironic smile at the red beast's arrogance. Noah responded to the provocation, saying he would spare his opponent's life if he ran away immediately. Completely enraged by the young man's mockery, the monster called him an arrogant brat on the road. It puffed up its body, gathered power, and swore to crush every bone in the young master's body. The ogre lunged, unleashing a heavy punch, creating thick dust and wind on the clearing. Noah remained calm and moved into a quick-draw sword stance, channeling hybrid energy into the sword. The opponent's giant fists lunged at high speed toward the hero's head. The young man performed a spectacular backflip, easily escaping the beast's violent lunge. The punch collided and shattered the stony ground, creating deep cracks across the battlefield. Noah performed an acrobatic backflip in midair, keeping his sharp purple eyes fixed on the opponent. The monster roared in extreme rage as the young master prepared to counterattack. The hero lunged down toward the enemy, manipulating the air current to increase his falling speed, and activated the first form of the divine style, releasing a powerful, mystical light technique. A massive, brilliant golden sword slash cut through the air and struck directly at the giant ogre's position. However, it dodged the attack and circled behind the protagonist. Before he could react, a mountain-breaking punch was unleashed, sending his body flying backward like a cannonball. Fortunately, the protagonist was completely uninjured after that attack. The young man pointed out that although its strength was impressive, its attack movements were very slow. Humiliated, the monster stood up, roared in anger, and called the young master a stupid, arrogant brat. It unleashed a giant horizontal punch toward the hero who was hovering in midair. Noah dodged with extreme grace, gliding past the beast's arm with incredible dexterity. He performed a perfect cross slash with his golden blade, severing the ogre's limb in midair. The ogre leader coughed violently and collapsed, defeated on the stone floor. After the final slash, the hero looked toward the remaining monsters on the mountain and challenged all of them to come down and engage him. The young man stood in a defensive stance, facing the remaining enemies who were watching from a hill. The ogres roared in anger and began to rush down from the rocks at high speed to attack the hero. Noah calmly watched the army rushing toward the ground, determined to crush the young nobleman. He concentrated and prepared the second form of the divine fighting style, radiating intense light. With flexible movements, he shot out golden energy blades, slashing all the monsters in midair. The bodies of the defeated ogres fell to the ground lifeless, confirming the young man's swift victory. The Draconia guards witnessed in awe, admitting that his strength far exceeded all the rumors. The two maids stepped out of the carriage to praise the hero, and Noah rebuked them for not following his orders. Selena smiled and said that it was a maid's duty to always witness her master's great victories. Noah glanced toward the mountain peak where the last enemy was hiding and manifest. In the sky, a majestic warrior riding a red-winged dragon was observing the young man seriously. The mysterious knight wearing golden armor jumped off the dragon, quickly lunging down from the cloud layer. He landed imposingly, creating a large screen of dust on the path in front of everyone. The warrior revealed that he had witnessed the entire battle and praised the strength the young man had shown there. He introduced himself as Adelbalt Fangray, the powerful commander of the local Dragon Knights. When asked why he hadn't helped, he said that a king could not be so weak that he needed to be saved. Noah smiled and asked if he had passed the warrior's test yet. The commander nodded in confirmation, and Adelbalt promised to lead the young master directly to meet the esteemed Lord Alcardos. The journey continued with an official dragon escort across the city's stone bridges. Selena was amazed to see humans and lizard men living together harmoniously on the streets. The two maids commented that a kingdom with such harmony among different races was extremely rare. The guide suggested they could explore the surroundings later, assuring them that everyone would love this place. A majestic blue dragon flew across the sky above the carriage, showcasing the grandeur of Draconia. They entered a cave illuminated by mysterious blue runes under the guidance of the warrior's land. The group arrived before a massive ancient stone gate carved with the shape of a sleeping dragon. Adelbalt raised his lantern and loudly announced that he had brought the young master Noah Doskel. The stone carving glowed with a faint golden light as a deep voice echoed, ordering everyone to enter the great hall. The massive stone structure began to open slowly, revealing the darkness of the mysterious room. The group proceeded through the large entrance and was immediately greeted by a powerful, mystical gust of wind. Noah felt an overwhelming mental pressure and concluded that it was equal to that of his powerful biological father. The scale guards could not withstand the strength of the aura and collapsed to the floor, unable to stand up, while the two maids fearfully hid behind the hero, who was standing firmly against that terrifying gravitational force. Amidst the darkness of the massive room, two glowing blue eyes appeared, staring at the new visitors. A calm and majestic voice echoed in the darkness, welcoming the young heir of the Doskull clan. It was the legendary Lord Alcardos, a majestic white dragon, who called Noah his young collaborator. The two maids and the lizardman guards waited in absolute silence to pay their respects to the presence of the god. Noah stepped forward and formally introduced himself as the heir sent by the Doskull clan. Alcardos brought his giant snout close and sincerely thanked him for the support from the influential clan. The giant dragon focused his glowing blue eyes and whispered that he sensed a nostalgic energy from the young man. Noah did not smile, knowing that the Dragon Lord was a mystical deity who had existed since the ancient days of the world. The young man clenched his fist, causing his hybrid purple and golden aura to shine brilliantly. The warrior gathered all his mental strength, leaving a powerful mystical presence in front of the Lord. Alcardos observed the light from Noah's flame from above, confirming the greatness of the new holy core. The giant creature was moved to see the holy light once again after centuries of being completely forgotten. The Lord ordered Adelbalt to reveal every detail of the secret mission to the young Doskull heir. The commander spoke up, ready to explain the complex plea for help sent to the noble clan. He revealed that their lizard race had faced a terrifying and brutal war against the ogres for many years. The warrior explained that the balance of power in the region had recently been broken in favor of the enemy. He pointed out that the ogres had recruited an elite strategist who had finally destroyed Draconia's defense system. Noah deduced that they were looking for help to balance the war, but the Lord warned that the mission went far beyond that. The enemy race's military commanders were moving chess pieces aggressively, conquering more territory on the map. Adelbalt touched his sword and confessed that their true intention was to put an end to the conflict. The scaled warrior revealed that the mission must be completed quickly before a tragic event occurred. He shared that the esteemed dragon, Lord Alcardos, was very old and was approaching the twilight of his long life. Noah did not smile when realizing the remaining time of this powerful leader was extremely short. The commander revealed that when Alcardos passed away, he would create a massive source of power called the Alcardos Core. Noah remembered that in his past life, this mystical treasure had fallen into the hands of villains, causing a major catastrophe. With determination, the young man accepted the difficult mission, promising to prevent the core from being stolen by the villains. The Lord thanked him and promised that Noah would be able to collect his remains as rare materials after he passed away. The commander swore to provide full support for the journey and decided to reveal one more dangerous secret about the enemy. Adelbalt said there was a rumor spreading that the ogres had captured the legendary 8 treasure orb. Noah was quite worried when receiving information about the possession of such a dangerous mystical item. This powerful relic was an artifact capable of overwhelmingly enhancing a nation's military power. The hero promised to investigate the situation and planned to ask Eve for support to uncover the ogre's secrets. Noah decided to take a walk through the bustling streets of Draconia to begin his search for personal allies. The young man thought that an all-out war between the races was inevitable, and he could not resolve everything alone. The young man wondered if he should recruit an ancient and powerful companion he had met in his past life. He analyzed the ancient script carved on the plaza wall, looking for clues about her whereabouts, and walked to the city's central memorial, hoping to find any sign of the legendary female warrior. He remembered that she used to operate in this area and celebrated finding her sooner than expected. It was the Saintess, Liliana, a powerful 9-star healer who had saved his life countless times in the past. Noah approached the young woman who was leisurely walking through the square, feeling a great wave of nostalgia when seeing her again. Liliana noticed the young man's fixed gaze and looked back at him with expressive bright blue eyes. Slightly annoyed, the young woman politely asked him not to look at her like that. Liliana explained that her next musical performance at the Central Plaza was still quite a while away. Noah was surprised by her words, and she curiously asked if he had come here just to hear her sing. Flustered, he apologized and asked for the young woman's name. Trying to process this new reality, the young woman gripped the neck of her strange instrument, preparing to perform. With a cheerful smile, Liliana formally introduced herself as a simple bard from this region. Noah was shocked to realize the Saintess was using her bard identity to conceal her true strength. The system revealed that her stats were at the 6-star level, confirming she had not yet reached her peak. Noah maintained a serious posture, called her name, and said he had an important proposal. After hearing the full explanation, Liliana remarked that she now clearly understood the severity of the war against the ogres. However, to the young man's surprise, she crossed her arms and firmly refused to join his combat group. Noah was surprised by Liliana's sudden refusal and calmly asked for the reason. The young woman focused her glowing golden eyes, revealing that she could sense his black core. Liliana pointed out that a powerful dark energy was radiating from Noah, making the air in the square tense. To convince her, the young man raised his arm, releasing small golden sparks of mystical energy. The Saintess was curious when realizing his holy power blended perfectly with the darkness. Liliana accepted the invitation, but set an unusual condition, making the young master quite curious. With a mischievous smile on her face, she asked the young man to find her a perfect romantic boyfriend. Noah was completely shocked and stammered in surprise. Unable to believe the girl's eccentric request, the young man imagined awkward situations from his past life. Recalling the ally's special habit, she demanded the suitor be a strong gentleman, forbidding anyone carrying a black cord. Noah smirked, realizing Liliana's enthusiastic personality hadn't changed at all. The hero thought of the Dragon Knight Adelbalt and assured her that he had the perfect candidate to help her. Immediately, the young woman reached out her hand to seal the partnership deal, warning that she would place all her trust in his word. Noah shook Liliana's hand firmly, sealing the deal under his new identity as Noah Doskel. The carriage departed, leaving the majestic mountain city of Draconia, heading toward a new goal. While traveling through the mountain range, Liliana asked why they were going so far, and Noah told her they needed a train. The young man revealed that a powerful magical tool was lying dormant in a sanctuary hidden in that area. Suddenly, Noah's sharp intuition detected a powerful threat approaching the rocky location. The pair arrived before the collapsed entrance of a dark cave, radiating dangerous mental energy. He activated his holy power and saw something. An ancient magic circle activated on the stone. Noah quickly drew his weapon and stepped forward. The young man unleashed a precise slash at the magic circle. A large cloud of purple smoke dissipated, and Noah stood ready, knowing the sanctuary was extremely heavily guarded. They entered the cave's darkness, advancing with extreme caution. The bard pointed out that the barrier was a warning of extreme danger for anyone attempting to pass. He jokingly asked if she was scared, but she assured him she was not scared at all. Inside, the cave was filled with beautifully glowing blue crystals lighting the way. Noah led the group, keeping his sword ready for any sign of a threat. Suddenly, a shadow as fast as lightning cut through the air, forcing the hero to raise his weapon. 3 wolf-like beasts with sharp horns emerged from the darkness and rushed toward the group. Liliana opened her magic support book and said she would be responsible for supporting the rear in the battle. A sharp-horned wolf lunged at high speed, trying to bite the hero with its razor-sharp teeth. Noah focused, channeled electric power into his blade, and prepared to unleash a vertical slash. With lightning-fast movements, the young man sliced through both beasts in mid-air with his holy swordsmanship. With lightning-fast movements, the young man sliced through both beasts in mid-air with his holy swordsmanship. The heir smirked sarcastically, declaring he could defeat such low-level opponents by himself. Liliana was extremely impressed by the young man's speed and praised his combat skills. Suddenly, a massive scaled tail emerged from the cave's darkness, moving stealthily behind him. Noah realized the lethal presence too late and desperately shouted his new ally's name. Another giant, sharp-horned wolf fell from the ceiling of the sanctuary, aiming straight at the young girl's back. The beast slammed into the ground, kicking up a thick screen of dust, but Liliana managed to back away and dodge. The bard gathered momentum and unleashed a spectacular kick covered in golden light toward the monster. The physical impact sent the giant wolf flying backward into the cliff, destroying the creature. She adjusted her hat and proudly commented that she knew how to defend herself very well. And Noah acknowledged her great strength. The young girl pointed out that she had never seen this type of monster before, and Noah explained that the cave was gathering dragon energy. He detailed that the high concentration of magic caused the local beasts to evolve in unique and dangerous ways. The terrified girl admitted that she did not expect this place to be so hostile. Noah comforted his ally, assuring her that the magical item they were looking for was very close. Liliana curiously asked if the item they were looking for was really a powerful magical tool. Noah explained that the mysterious artifact would be an essential safety guarantee for the group, and they continued to walk fast, venturing deeper into the dangerous rocky landscape of the mystical cave. The air signaled they were about to reach the deepest and darkest area of the dangerous sanctuary. Liliana widened her expressive blue eyes when catching a glimpse of something glowing in the center of the hall. The bard joyfully pointed, signaling toward the stone pedestal where a very ancient metal sword was lying. Noah sensed danger and shouted desperately, ordering her to stop and not touch the mystical object. A terrifying and giant hostile presence suddenly emerged from the darkness of the green cave ceiling. The young man focused his sharp purple gaze, detecting the enemy's strong, hostile intent lurk. He shouted a warning for her to be careful while rushing toward his chaotic ally. Noah managed to scoop the girl into his arms at the last moment, saving her from the attack of a terrifying sharp-horned lizard. A giant creature covered in sharp purple spikes roared fiercely, blocking the hero's path. The hero anxiously realized the cave's only exit had been completely blocked by the monster. The mystical creature opened its giant mouth and spewed an overwhelming stream of red fire toward them. Noah cursed in frustration, realizing the wide range of the fire attack made normal dodging impossible. Liliana reacted quickly, opening her mystical book to cast a powerful defensive spell. The bard reached out and began chanting mysterious spells to alter the laws of physics in the area. She summoned the Holy Circle Barrier, creating a giant hexagonal shield in the courtyard. The giant stream of fire swept through the entire stone hall, colliding violently with the Saintess's mystical shield. The terrifying heat melted the surrounding stone, creating smoke and sparks that completely obscured their vision. The magic shield glowed with high intensity, perfectly withstanding the enemy's full firepower. Noah praised Liliana's excellent support skills when seeing her restrain the dragon's violent attack. The young man gathered momentum and stomped hard on the stone floor, switching to an offensive stance against the giant monster. Covered by purple and golden lightning, he lunged relentlessly toward the body of the elite giant opponent. Noah jumped high toward the beast's chest, preparing the finishing blow with his electrically enhanced sword. He unleashed a powerful attack that tore through the monster's hard scales, causing massive physical damage. The black liquid of the purple sharp-horned lizard splashed onto the stone floor. Confirming the effectiveness of the mystical slash, the beast roared in extreme pain, trying to bite the intruder who was moving at terrifying speed. Noah performed multiple acrobatic spins, unleashing a continuous attack chain that disrupted the enemy's defense. Liliana anxiously warned that the intensity of the battle was causing the cave walls to collapse rapidly. The bard quickly flipped through the mystical book, preparing to cast a new crowd control spell in the area. She summoned the Holy Circle Pillar, channeling golden light chains to restrain the opponent. The electric chains bound the giant purple sharp-horned lizard tightly, preventing it from moving further. Liliana shouted hurriedly, warning that the restraint would not last and telling him to finish it off quickly. Noah decided to focus all his sword energy into one point to prevent a total collapse. The monster tried to unleash a desperate attack with its giant sharp-horned tail toward Noah's position. The young man dodged skillfully and activated the first form of the holy style, preparing the finishing blow with the blinding light of light and shadow. The young master's mystical sword gathered a massive amount of power. Noah lunged straight into the monster's wide-open jaw, which was trying in vain to break his holy lunge. He shouted a battle cry, unleashing a holy thrust that pierced the opponent's scaled armor. The sword tip channeled and released all the combined energy, exploding in front of the opponent's chest. A beam of brilliant purple and gold light cut through the cave, destroying the lizard spectacularly. The young man landed skillfully while the sanctuary floor continued to crack from the massive power generated. The defeated body of the purple sharp-horned lizard collapsed to the ground lifeless, closing the decisive victory. Noah checked if she was injured, but Liliana said she was fine and insisted on leaving before the cave collapsed. They ran in parallel while the hero took the opportunity to grab the legendary sword stuck on the stone pedestal. With a firm motion, the young man grabbed the golden sword hilt, which was emitting a purple light on the stone. Noah raised the mystical dragon sword high, happily confirming he possessed the powerful dispersal tool. The young man agreed with his teammate and told them to quickly leave this dangerous place before it collapsed. On the horizon, dragon-riding warriors flew across the Draconia sky, maintaining the kingdom's watch. Noah gave a mysterious letter to Liliana, making the young girl quite curious about the paper's content. The young man smiled and explained that he was fulfilling his promise to introduce her to Knight Commander Adelbal. Liliana was overjoyed with the gift and enthusiastically thanked Noah for all his help. The young girl ran off very excitedly to meet the commander while the protagonist waved goodbye to her. Afterward, Noah calmly walked toward the entrance of a bustling local tavern. The hero entered the tavern looking for someone while guests were chatting happily at the tables. A waiter approached and told Noah that a mysterious guest was waiting for him there. Noah was surprised by this news and wondered who the mysterious guest in this place could be. The blond young man named Keys waved from afar when he spotted the hero, showing great familiarity with him. Noah approached and curiously asked what his brother was doing here. Keys handed him a sealed letter and said that all the important details of the investigation were written inside. The intelligent ally, Eve, had investigated deep into the 8-treasure orb right after Noah contacted her. Keys yawned while the hero read that the dangerous artifact had been stolen recently from a neighboring kingdom. The perpetrator had fled toward Draconia, showing that this relic was intended to be used in the upcoming war. The report sent a serious warning about the unfathomable dangers of using such a powerful mystical item. The document clearly stated that the orb's power was destructive and capable of wiping an entire city off the map. The terrifying mystical magic known as Falling Star had the potential to cause unprecedented destruction. Noah carefully read the details on the paper. Noah was startled when realizing this was the very type of magic that had destroyed Draconia in his past life. The message ended with a warning that she had sent Keys to assist and requested that the young man must return safely from mission. The blonde young man explained that besides providing support, he wanted to observe the Dragon Knights battle up close. He smiled and said, "This is a great deal," and the young master sincerely thanked his brother for the support. Suddenly, the tavern door was pushed open forcefully, attracting the attention of everyone inside. Liliana appeared looking extremely angry, dragging the terrified Commander Adelbalt right behind her into the room. The bard pointed at Noah, screaming in outrage that this situation was not what they had agreed upon. She slammed the table, yelling that that warrior already had a wife and she would never agree to get intimately involved with a married man. All the diners in the tavern were completely shocked by the girl's bizarre revelation. Noah tried to hide his embarrassment when realizing he had completely forgotten that the commander was married. The commander also apologized awkwardly, affirming he would never betray his beloved wife. Noah tried to reassure Liliana, promising to find another single candidate for her. However, Liliana glued her eyes to the table and immediately fell in love when noticing the presence of the blonde young man sitting there. Keys noticed her strange reaction and panicked, having no idea what was going on. The bard didn't hesitate to rush over and grab Keys' arm, her eyes gleaming with intense passion. Liliana hugged him, declaring that he was her perfect type because of his incredibly muscular and toned physique. Keys was completely panicked by the bard's boldness and tried to squirm away, wondering what was wrong with him. Noah just stood by and laughed loudly, explaining that the blonde guy was the perfect ally he had promised to introduce. Liliana squeezed Keys' arm so hard that it made the blonde hero extremely embarrassed on the spot. The shameless girl asked if he wanted to spend a romantic evening with her, which terrified the blonde man. He pushed her away, his face bright red with embarrassment, and shouted at her not to talk about intimate matters so casually. Keys called for Noah to save him, but the protagonist just laughed, saying the bard could do whatever she wanted with his brother. The hero gave a thumbs up and happily declared that his promise to the bard had been fulfilled. Keys tried to push Liliana away, but the girl clung to his neck with startling strength and determination. He pushed her cheek away, while the bard happily assured him that from now on, she would be under his care. The blonde man shouted angrily that he had never agreed to this crazy arrangement. Trying to escape the girl's embrace, he took a giant leap to flee, running desperately from the bard's relentless pursuit. Liliana shouted as he ran away, while the protagonist watched the whole chaotic scene with great amusement. The blonde man seriously said he would relay all of Eve's important findings directly to the Dragon King. Noah agreed and assured him that he would do his best while his brother was temporarily away. Before leaving, his brother seriously warned the young man not to push himself too hard in the difficult battle. The young man warned that the terrifying Ogre King was a massive opponent with a power level equal to their father. Keys ran desperately to escape while Liliana shouted, telling him to wait for her. Noah acted quickly and grabbed Liliana's clothes to stop her from chasing his blonde brother. The hero advised that they had no time to chase after his brother at such a critical moment and revealed that they were about to infiltrate the enemy ogre army's main base. Liliana looked at the massive village with anxiety and asked if he really intended to attack that place with just the two of them. The young man explained that their real goal was to destroy the orb of 8 treasures, not to start an all-out war. Even after hearing his teammates' logical explanation, the bard was still quite worried about his plan. She asked how they could get past the entire force of heavily guarded monsters in the village. Noah suddenly lifted Liliana into his arms, confidently commenting that ogres were very sluggish creatures. The protagonist focused powerful magical lightning energy into his boots to maximize his speed. With the girl in his arms, Noah smiled, assuring her that they would glide past the guards like a flash of light. The hero lunged forward at high speed, leaving only a mysterious trail of light on the stone stairs. The couple dashed through the entire monster village at an absurd speed, giving the enemy no time to react. An ogre guard sensed a slight breeze and a mysterious light passing near his position. He panicked when he realized a blurry yellow streak was rushing toward the base's main gate. But before he could raise an alarm, his head was completely severed. It fell right at the feet of another guard, causing him to panic immediately when he realized they were under attack. Before being decapitated, he managed to shout a warning to the others. Noah realized the guards had discovered the infiltration, but Liliana told him not to worry about that detail. The bard proudly revealed that she had cast a sound-canceling magical barrier, silencing all noise in the area. Noah smiled, complimenting his allies' amazing skills, who always proved extremely useful in combat. Thanks to the barrier, the other ogres remained at their posts, completely unaware of the ongoing infiltration. Liliana asked her teammate if he knew exactly where the monster holding the powerful artifact was. Noah replied that the mystical item was surely hidden in the deepest area where the tribe's supreme leader resided. The hero recalled that in his previous life, Fungus was just a coward who always allied with the strongest. The young man concluded that if this criminal was involved with the ogres, the precious orb would certainly be guarded there. The two finally landed on the stone floor, ready to start the most dangerous part of the infiltration. They stopped in front of the fortress's massive gates, which radiated an evil and horrifying energy. Very carefully, the pair opened a gap in the large wooden doors to observe the dark hall inside. Noah signaled that the way was clear, and the two quietly began to descend the stairs inside. The heavy doors automatically closed with a low thud, locking the two young intruders inside that lava temple. They ran quickly toward the center of the massive underground temple. Noah spotted a glowing altar and told his ally that he had finally found the legendary orb they had been searching for all this time. However, the protagonist suddenly stopped when he sensed an overwhelming hostile presence appear behind them. The hero immediately swung his sword backward, but no one was there. The young man realized there was a presence lurking in the hall that he hadn't detected before being attacked. Just then, a voice rang out from behind, revealing that Fungus was right. The hero was stunned by his opponent's speed, as he had acted the exact moment he turned around in the hall. A giant red ogre appeared, holding the glowing artifact in his claw, and commented that he didn't expect any intruders. The majestic warrior complimented the young man's ability to get past all the guards in silence. Noah prepared to fight, knowing that confronting this giant monster would not be an easy task for them. The enemy leader radiated a dark aura and menacingly confessed that he despised cowardly tactics in battle. Noah and Liliana took a fighting stance, confidently drawing their swords, the blades glowing with powerful and majestic purple energy. The giant ogre, General Gazel, roared in fury, promising to crush the two intruders with his own hands. The terrifying ogre, General Gazel, radiated overwhelming dark energy, looking down at the two young intruders. Facing imminent danger, Noah quickly activated his mystical appraisal skill to inspect the enemy. The system began processing the information, but the opponent's physical stats were hidden. Noah was extremely shocked to read that the physical resistance of this powerful ogre general was simply immeasurable. Sweat dripped down the young master's face as he realized he was about to face an unreasonable opponent. The young man decided to lunge forward with all his might and told Liliana to destroy the precious artifact. As soon as he could retreat with a battle cry, the hero attacked the giant monster's chest with the full power of his mystical sword. Noah had tried his best, but felt terrifying physical resistance when trying to pierce the ogre's armored skin. The blow didn't even make the giant flinch, and he mocked the hero, saying his attack was as weak as an insect. Gazel laughed at the human's frailty and struck Noah, knocking the young man flying backward to the ground with terrifying force just by a simple, humiliating flick of his finger. The ogre general pushed back the young warrior's attack. The impact of the blow sent Noah flying through the air, crashing hard into the hall. A large dust cloud spread throughout the underground temple, emphasizing the monster's raw power. The young man leaned against the stone floor, gasping for air as he tried to catch his breath. After the terrifying collision, a horrible crash echoed as Gazel's massive stone mace smashed into the ground near the protagonist. The terrifying monster jumped with his mace held high, laughing loudly and proudly, declaring that this was the real weapon. The general's mace came down with fury, but was restrained at the last moment by a brilliant golden energy shield. Liliana kept her spellbook open, channeling all her mana to maintain the divine defensive barrier. Gazel found this test of pure physical strength very interesting and increased the pressure on the bard's shield. The ogre general tightened his grip on the massive stone mace, focusing more destructive power. The monster's immense power crushed the barrier, creating terrifying cracks throughout the golden structure. Liliana began to waver from the overload and shouted desperately for her teammate. And the general wore a savage grin as he realized the light shield was about to shatter completely. The mystical shield exploded into 1,000 pieces, releasing a violent wave of destructive energy throughout the hall. However, the monster's attack was still blocked by the protagonist's divine power. The ogre was surprised to see the hero had blocked the final blow even after the barrier shattered. Seizing the opening, Noah lunged forward, unleashing a diagonal slash, trying to wound his opponent's chest. Liliana stepped back to a safe distance and anxiously asked her teammate if he was truly okay. Noah admitted that he was struggling and was stunned by the destructive power of just one blow from the enemy. The young man seriously warned that they had no chance of winning if they continued to fight head-on. With a determined look, the young master planned to use an alternative tactic to overcome his opponent. He decided to gamble on a risky strategy, scattering special fragments across the stone floor. Noah asked Liliana to coordinate precisely with the plan, and the bard prepared to cast magic. The young man threw his magical sword toward his opponent as a temporary decoy in the battle. Liliana summoned divine judgment, unleashing an impressive rain of golden light spears from the ceiling. Noah ran at high speed beneath the storm of light spears, aiming for the ogre general's blind spot. Gazel laughed confidently, roaring that such weak attacks would never defeat him. With a quick movement of his mace, the monster easily destroyed the light spears created by the Holy Maiden. The bard bit her lip in fear, realizing her strongest move had caused no real damage. Noah activated his divine power technique, focusing an intense, brilliant golden aura in his hands. Under the hero's command, the previously scattered fragments began to levitate and glow brightly. The young man fired the holy magic flying sword, catching the giant monster by surprise with the attack. Noah shouted convincingly, warning that the monster would have nowhere to hide from this combined power. A massive pillar of golden light and lightning struck Gazel, destroying everything around him in a fit of rage. The ogre general's eyes flashed with unyielding, killing intent. Although he had taken the full impact of the magic, the monster still charged with hatred through the blinding light, swinging his stone mace to tear the air and crush the intruder. Noah didn't back down and decided to confront the giant head-on. Running toward the enemy, the young man braced his physical stance, focusing all his remaining mental strength into his right leg. The hero unleashed a powerful kick, summoning a massive magic circle that struck Gazel's chin. Noah fell backward after the strike, but quickly used the air to regain his combat balance. The hero quickly pointed his index finger, firing the mystical sword toward the enemy's floating target. The flying sword moved fast and struck the orb of energy that the ogre general was guarding in the hall. Noah gritted his teeth in anger and shouted at the top of his lungs that the powerful artifact had to be destroyed once and for all. The attack hit the artifact's core, creating glowing cracks and triggering a massive chain reaction. Waves of golden energy and lightning began to escape from the damaged orb, about to explode in a fit of rage. Gazel reached out, trying to restrain the treasure's terrifying reaction. As the violent explosion threw the hero away, a blinding and destructive light covered both warriors' vision, signaling the activation of the massive blast. A massive explosion shook the temple's stone structure, creating terrifying heat waves everywhere. The destructive impact swept through the entire ogre village, leaving the monsters panicked by the massive amount of energy released into the air. The couple was covered by a golden hexagonal shield to protect them from dangerous debris. Liliana breathed a sigh of relief, believing they had won. But Noah seriously warned her not to let her guard down. A savage laugh echoed through the flames, revealing that the ogre general had survived the terrifying explosion. Gazel appeared majestically from the smoke, mocking the attack and calling the explosion a little joke. An ogre army rushed toward the two heroes as they realized the danger of being surrounded. The hero prepared for a tactical retreat, knowing that confronting that entire army would be madness. A massive stone pillar collapsed, shattering the stone floor as the monsters tried to crush their exit. And suddenly, a giant dragon flew across the red sky. Noah smiled when he recognized the mystical creature. Keys appeared riding the mystical creature and hurriedly reached out his hand, shouting for his younger brother to climb up quickly. Noah lifted Liliana into his arms again and hurriedly left before the enemy could catch up. Stone pillars rising from everywhere were the path that helped the protagonist leap into the air. From high in the sky, Noah analyzed and observed the battlefield, planning the next steps of their journey. On the ground, Gazel laughed savagely, holding the broken orb and radiating a dark aura with terrifying killing intent. The mystical treasure orb seemed to have lost control, proving that Noah's plan had indeed succeeded. Noah focused his glowing purple eyes toward the horizon, aware that the battle had only just begun in this area. The red dragon flew toward the sunset, carrying the two young people safely back to the Draconia Kingdom. In the meeting room, the dragon generals were surprised to see Noah return alive and asked about the artifact. Noah explained that he had dealt a critical blow that caused the artifact's power to spin out of control, reducing its usage limit. Keys commented with satisfaction that because of this, the military situation of the Draconia Kingdom had improved significantly. Suddenly, a messenger soldier ran into the meeting room, shouting that he needed to report an emergency. The dragon commander panicked upon hearing that the entire ogre army had launched an invasion at the border. Noah remained calm and affirmed that everything was going according to plan, because the ogres wanted to end the war before the artifact weakened. The hero promised to end the conflict before the life of the respected dragon lord ended. On the horizon, General Gazel led the relentless ogre army, with a savage smile on his face. The sorceress raised her hand, and a brilliant golden light radiated from the spell book in her hand. A blessing spell covered all the soldiers, enhancing the strength of the allied forces. Buffed with increased power, the lizard warriors suddenly became more aggressive and terrifying than ever before. A red demon was hit by a critical blow and collapsed immediately. Amidst the hot battlefield, Keys and the blonde guy charged straight into the enemy encirclement on horseback. The blonde guy shouted that he would clear the way, and Noah just needed to stick close behind. In his heart, Noah was still searching for traces of the two other commanders who had not yet appeared. The blonde guy started casting, and a blue magic circle appeared right on his hand. A stone spear shot forward, knocking away all obstacles to clear the path for them. Not stopping there, he activated the lightning suit, turning himself into a mobile block of electricity. With a confident smile, it was clear that a spectacular performance was about to unfold. He waved his hand, controlling the lightning-imbued stone to fly forward. The stone lunged straight toward the demon army with terrifying speed. Immediately, two demons stepped out to block the giant stone. Seeing this, Keys just let out a cold laugh. "Explode," he said, clenching his fist. A blinding explosion erupted, swallowing those who dared to block their path. The force of the attack kicked up a thick cloud of dust, and a large area of the battlefield was covered by electric current. The red demons lay scattered on the ground. Whether dead or alive, it was unclear. Noah urged his horse to gallop quickly through the rubble, advancing deeper into enemy territory. The lizard army eagerly rushed forward, cheering and surging like a wave behind Noah. Noah swung his sword, cutting down any demon in his path with a relentless rhythm. The red demon army began to panic, calling for everyone to gather forces to deal with this human. Noah's gaze locked onto the red demon commander, who was standing arrogantly in front. A brilliant purple slash cut across, clearing out the infantry surrounding the commander. He urged his horse to leap high, preparing to unleash a powerful opening strike. Upon closing the distance, he immediately leaped off his horse toward the commander. Noah got into position, his sword radiating an overwhelming purple and golden light. The blade hit the demon's thick skin, creating sparks flying everywhere. A sharp slash tore through the giant's chest, taking him by surprise. Noah frowned slightly and nodded. This guy was tougher and more durable than he thought. The red demon commander gritted his teeth in anger, his eyes full of hatred fixed on the small intruder. He ordered his henchmen to surround him, but Noah remained cold and calm. The demon swung his giant spiked mace, roaring in contempt at Noah's ability. Noah looked at him as if he were the perfect subject to test the new technique he had just learned. A list of techniques appeared, and Noah began to channel the third awakening of divine power. Holy Demon Void Slash. The sword pierced straight into the demon commander's chest. However, the tip of the sword only slightly pierced the demon's chest without causing much damage. This made the commander smug, and he swung his weapon straight toward the protagonist. However, at that very moment, a smile spread across Noah's face as he whispered, "It's over." The very next moment, the commander's head suddenly started to glow. After that, his entire body swelled like a balloon being blown to its limit. Finally, it exploded directly, blasting away the demons standing nearby. Noah stood there as if completely unaffected by the explosion. The remaining red demons froze in horror, witnessing their leader being taken down in the blink of an eye. Noah blew a sharp whistle, his cold eyes sweeping over the remnants of the army. His whistle caught the attention of everyone on the battlefield. Noah held the commander's bloody horn high and loudly declared their victory. The morale of the lizard army soared as they rushed out to hunt down the enemy. However, Noah still felt uneasy, wondering why the notorious Oni tribe was so weak. He continued to lunge deep into the encirclement, clearing out the stubborn remaining demons. The red demons screamed in desperation as Noah's silhouette flashed by like a deadly wind. Afterward, Noah chose a high vantage point. He carefully observed the entire battlefield. Although the lizard side seemed to be winning, Noah still felt doubt in his heart. He began to realize this was just a decoy. His purple eyes hardened. Suspicion of a larger plot began to rise. The true masterminds had not yet appeared, meaning the real target lay elsewhere. Draconia. Noah shouted in horror as he thought of the Dragon City being attacked. From the cliff, he looked down at the battlefield below and realized this was the only way back. Unable to wait any longer, Noah decided to forge the shortest path himself to save Draconia. Meanwhile, another red demon army was secretly infiltrating the Draconia Mountains. The entire city was now submerged in a sea of flames and bodies lay scattered everywhere. Naturally, General Gazel was also present. He hadn't expected them to use a precious gem to destroy an entire mountain. Master Fungus was truly a brilliant strategist. Hearing that, Fungus also gave a smug smile. Getting past the lizards was as easy as pie. Just as the two were advancing, the hand of a lizard soldier suddenly grabbed his leg. He muttered, trying to stop the monster. However, Gazel just silently lifted his foot and continued walking without any hindrance. Fungus looked back at him with a mocking gaze. Then he snapped his fingers to use magic, creating fire to incinerate the lizard soldier's body. "Indeed, trash should be burned away," he said with a laugh, while Gazel advised, "You should save your mana. The real battle is about to begin anyway." The giant monster pulled his foot back and kicked open the door in front of him, then laughed loudly and said, "Let's end this, Dragon King." In front of him was the Dragon King of the entire race, ready to fight. He roared, "For the crimes you have committed against my people, pay the price 10,000 times over with death." Dragon King Arcados stood tall, facing the demon warrior, while Seal watched quietly from behind. The demon warrior began to flex, his muscular body enveloped by a glowing red aura. The Dragon King roared, golden lightning crackling around his powerful, snow-white horns. The two formidable entities confronted each other, one radiating brilliant golden light, the other a thick, suffocating red aura. Without hesitation, the demon warrior lunged forward like a burning red arrow. He swung his fist against the giant dragon claw, creating a shockwave that shook the entire valley. An explosion of energy erupted between them, sending debris flying in every direction. The Dragon King tilted his body to dodge the strike, his icy blue eyes fixed firmly on his opponent. The demon warrior grabbed a massive boulder, his presence completely dominating the battlefield. He delivered a powerful strike, loudly demanding to know if that was all the Dragon King's power amounted to. The Dragon King retaliated with a mighty tail whip, golden lightning detonating in midair. The impact made the ground tremble violently, and thick dust blanketed a vast area. The Dragon King soared high, his body emitting a terrifying electric field that wrapped around his wings. His razor-sharp claws dug into the ground, tearing through the space around them. The dragon's power was so immense that even solid rock mountains shattered into pieces. The demon soldiers below scrambled in panic as the valley suffered a terrifying collapse. A white flare burst from the center of the explosion, erasing everything in sight. The Dragon King tightened his claws, the golden lightning still dancing threateningly. Soldiers were tossed into the void amidst massive chunks of floating rock. A gigantic mass of energy and debris came crashing down, crushing everything beneath it. Arcados began gathering magic right in front of his chest for a wide-area attack. The golden light exploded, engulfing the entire battlefield in a fireball. An orb of light appeared, beginning to crack severely under the terrifying pressure. It shattered into small fragments, releasing scorching heat and blinding light. The demon warrior roared within the red aura, his power seemingly skyrocketed. The Dragon King wondered silently if this old body had finally reached its absolute limit. Realizing the tension, Seal immediately activated flight magic to escape the danger zone. He soared high, his calm eyes watching the great battle unfolding below. The demon warrior and the Dragon King faced off for the last time, both preparing for a finishing blow. The demon warrior demanded the Dragon King surrender, because the power gap was now obvious. The Dragon King roared with pride, asserting that he would never kneel before the demons. The demon warrior's gaze turned cold upon realizing his opponent had chosen to fight to the death. He coldly declared that no more words were needed, as murderous intent thickened around him. "I will crush your life." The demon warrior lunged with terrifying speed. The Dragon King unleashed his dragon breath, a golden stream of light incinerating everything in its path. The demon warrior charged straight into the dragon's breath, ignoring the destructive heat to close the distance. The two forces collided in midair, creating a flash that lit up the entire valley. He raised his attack high, letting out a roar that shook the heavens before striking down. A direct punch landed squarely on the Dragon King, completely shattering his final defense. The Dragon King was sent flying hard into the ground, leaving a long streak of golden light behind. The demon warrior looked down at the wreckage with the eyes of an absolute victor. A massive golden pillar of light shot straight into the sky, marking the fall of the legendary Dragon King. Seal intended to use healing magic, but the demon warrior stopped him and ordered him to step back. He began to accumulate extreme magical power, his entire body covered in a threatening red aura. The demon warrior dived straight down into the valley, which was engulfed in smoke and rubble. Looking at his overwhelming demon army, he coldly declared that the battle would end right there. A brilliant gold and red light erupted violently from the demon leader's weapon. That power formed a giant energy vortex, ready to crush everything nearby. The demon warrior looked at the Dragon King with glowing golden eyes. "Farewell, Dragon King." A crimson beam of light descended from above like a final judgment upon the valley. The horrific explosion formed a glowing red cross, tearing through the night sky. The light from the blast was so blinding it could be seen from a great distance. The center of the attack radiated white-hot heat, incinerating everything in its path. The ground beneath collapsed and shattered completely under the destructive magic. In the midst of this, the Red Dragon General was leading his Dragon Legion in a rush toward the battlefield. He was stunned to see the giant red pillar of light rising from where his master was fighting. The entire dragon army raced frantically toward the valley with a foreboding feeling. The Red Dragon General roared for the squad to pick up speed, fearing the worst had happened. Upon arrival, they looked down in horror at a deep, bottomless pit filled with thick smoke and dust. The demon warrior stood imposingly amidst the ruins, displaying the majesty of the winner. The Dragon King lay collapsed with a strange, glowing star-shaped wound right in the center of his chest. Rage flared, and the Red Dragon General shouted, demanding to know what the opponent had done to the Dragon King. He leaped from his dragon's back, swinging his massive battle axe as he charged the demon warrior. A scream tore through the air as he poured all his killing intent into the desperate attack. However, the demon warrior easily blocked the bone-crushing axe swing with with just one hand. The Red Dragon General was sent recoiling, bracing himself with eyes burning with hatred. The demon leader coldly declared that the outcome of this battle had long been decided. He offered to spare the Dragonkin if they laid down their weapons right now. Suddenly, a strange purple magic circle appeared, surrounding the Dragon King's massive body. Dark mana rose in swirls, signaling that an underhanded scheme was taking place. Dragon King Arcados coughed up blood in pain as he felt his strength being drained from his body. A glowing golden crystal containing the dragon's core power was snatched away by a mysterious hand. Seal was shocked as he recognized the incredibly important item. That is, he hurried to reach out and stop it, but the traitor had already escaped with the core. The mysterious figure moved at terrifying speed, fleeing with the treasure stolen from the Dragon King's chest. The dragon core emitted a mesmerizing light in the stranger's hand. The brown-haired stranger wore an evil smirk. He had waited patiently for this moment. The Arcados core. The ultimate power is finally in my hands, he cheered triumphantly. As soon as he absorbed the core, jet-black demon wings sprouted, and his body began to transform drastically. "Don't you dare!" Seal screamed and immediately activated the light-dark flash technique to stop him. A brilliant cross-shaped beam of light descended from above directly onto the traitor's position. The ground shook violently once more following Seal's powerful magic attack. He landed with a sharp gaze, magic still swirling around his body. However, the enemy had already drawn a sword that radiated powerful purple light. The brown-haired stranger stood tall against the burning sky, the Arcados core glowing blindingly from his chest, marking the birth of an entity with terrifying power. He wore an arrogant smile, ready to use the purple lightning sword in his hand to crush anyone who dared to stand in his way.